Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode. Joey, it's the first episode.
First episode of Crossing the Frames.
Crossing the Frames podcast. My name's Dave, and as always, my co-host, Joey. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah.
How's the cat?
He's currently having a crap at the moment.
He's what? Coming down with the clap?
No, he's having a crap. He's actually going to proper town on my my litter box at the moment. Well, not my litter box, but his litter box. All he can hear is just...
Your litter box.
I have one too, but it's different from his.
It's smaller because he's the dominant figure.
Yeah,
he's
the dom.
He's got the big one. And you've got the small one. Oh, I love that. I love that. So
he has no idea. He's not capable of thought.
No. But he's still looking at you like you're a piece of shit, isn't he?
Oh yeah. Even if he's having the crap and I'm like getting ready to pick it up and flush it down the toilet or whatever, he's looking at me like I'm the rat.
Yeah. Like I said to you before, when was the last time you saw a cat cleaning up a human shit?
Well, never. That just never happens.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Official cat of the podcast, the podcat.
Podcat. Yeah, hey.
What's he called? It's
Sauce.
a he.
He's called Sauce.
Sauce. Love it. Oh, absolutely fantastic.
He's a good boy.
Should we get into it, Joey?
Yes, please.
So I'm going to just start with a bit of background. Like, we wanted to do this because we have phoned each other regularly during this lockdown. By the way, it's 2020. To anyone who's listening to this in the future, God bless your souls. If you're listening to this in the future and you're wondering what started this, we're still in the middle of a lockdown. We're in week 6.
I'm just going to start you there for 2 seconds. I'm getting this little idea of like a family in a post-apocalyptic world, and all they've found is this lost tape, and it's just this podcast from and it's like 100 years in the future, and they don't know what coronavirus is.
No.
And they're just like, whoa, what's this Star Wars?
Mate, not even that. It's like, what's a podcast? They said, welcome to the first episode. It's like,
I mean, yeah, that would be the thing they would ask actually first, not what's coronavirus.
No, actually, it'd be, what's a smartphone? Like, because you'd need a smartphone or something to listen to it. So it's like,
they'll have smart
assuming
implants or
they've
like
got
that.
it on, it works, and they've charged it, and they've managed to unlock it, and then they've got to the podcast app, and then they've clicked on it.
Yeah.
But surely before then, there's a million questions.
I mean, of course, there's got to be a million questions. I mean, I've got questions for them. I know they don't exist yet, but I do have questions for them. And
I think it's the perfect opportunity for you to ask.
Yeah.
To be honest.
What's life like, guys? I mean, I won't know the answer because I'll be gone. But I mean, what's it like? Does Tesco still exist?
How many of their family members have turned into mutants?
Yeah,
that would be my
question.
And
what are the mutants like?
Well, not very pleasant.
Yeah, describe it.
Please just out loud. Don't tell anyone what you're doing. If anyone's around you, just if you've got your headphones on, just out loud describe what's happening. Don't give any context.
How much do you bet that Tesco isn't going to be a shop? It's going to be like a deity, and people worship Tesco. And it's like a creature,
because you know what I mean. Because I mean, remember when they did the deep dive into the ocean, and one of the first things, they dove into the Mariana Trench with that submarine, and they found a plastic bag, right?
No way. Was it Tesco?
Well, I think no, it was maybe it was, but one of the things that would survive would be a plastic bag, so they would find it and go, oh. Asda?
Who is this? Asda? Safeway?
Sainsbury's. Why is there more than one of them? Because it's apostrophe S, isn't it? Why? What does he own? Who does he?
Yeah,
who is he?
Yeah, what does Sainsbury's actually own?
Sainsbury's.
See, yeah.
I think, but don't other companies own Sainsbury's? You know, like Asda's Walmart.
Yeah, and Tesco is Tesco Walmart as well. It's like Fanta is owned by Coke.
Nearly everything's owned by Coke, isn't it?
Yeah, they make everything.
Other than Pepsi, who also do... Oh, I'm going to hesitantly say Dr. Pepper, right?
Yeah, they do something else like that. I don't like Diet Dr. Pepper. Not going to lie. It's pretty disgusting.
The Zero's okay. I actually quite like a lot of the Zero drinks at the moment.
Normal Dr. Pepper's good. Yeah, mate, I'm drinking Pepsi Max Zero. That's good. I bet people in Star Wars drink that. It's nice.
Why? Because it's so futuristic?
Yeah, man.
Because of the red and the blue. It's like the lightsabers, dude.
Yeah, it's like...
Anything about that?
Good and bad. The whole thing.
The other day I had a fish and chips. And, what's a fish and chips? People from the future. And I had a... Obviously, you know this, my parents are Scottish, right? And I had to do it. I got a can of Iron Brew, and it was the best decision.
Oh, man. Especially if it's been in the fridge.
Oh, it had. And I literally had to just walk down the road, go in my house, and I had it, and it was... God, it was lush.
Mate, there's nothing better than Iron Brew.
Oh, it was so good. Oh,
Even a Lucozade. If you're feeling ill, a little bottle of Lucozade, it spec you up. Spec you
yeah,
up.
man. Yeah,
Pep you up. Yeah, spec you up, man. That's a new word, guys, from the future.
Have a Lucozade. You get a free set of glasses with it. Spec you up.
I've just thought of something. George Lucozade. That's what Star Wars people drink.
I don't know. I'm going to refer to him forever now. That's George Lucozade.
Lucozade.
Like say it quickly because people won't really pick up.
George Lucozade.
Are you a fan of George Lucozade? And they go, did he say Lucozade or did you say Lucas? And then you don't. Oh, Lucozade. Oh no, that was rubbish. That was awful. I was trying to make Lucasfilm,
that was terrible, mate.
Lucozade film.
Lucozade Skywalker.
I'm gonna stop.
That was crap as well. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop.
That joke died.
Diet Skywalker. That's what this bloody movie is.
You're getting there.
I'd rather just stop and.
Yeah, let's just stop the whole thing. We're
That's
over,
it,
guys.
Well,
Podcast over.
Thank you for listening to the first and last episode, and I'm gonna I've just committed words, Joey. I can't even. I've just committed career suicide. That's what I'm gonna say.
We're gonna skip past Dave's mental breakdown there and just go straight into the next segment. Do you want to introduce this segment?
Yeah, I do. Please, swiftly let us move on. Right, as you've seen in the episode description, we're going to talk about Rise of Skywalker because, like I started saying before and didn't finish, we've been talking a lot, and one of the things we've been talking about a lot is Skywalker and how just awful. Not awful. Yeah. Okay, it's not awful. It's just really, really underwhelming, and that's really, I think, putting it in the nicest way.
I've got a lot to say about
it. Right, so Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, released 20th of December, 2019, so it's still actually quite fresh. Can you believe it was...
For us, it's April now. It's 27th of April, and it feels like it's just happened. It's quite weird.
It's still quite fresh. I can't believe I've just, recently saw it in the cinema and then today watched it again. But they turn around DVDs so quick now.
They do. I mean, DVDs, Blu-rays, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it does happen very quick. At least it didn't go straight to Blu-ray.
Get it, Ray? Like race blue. Blue. She's all blue. She's. Oh, goodness me. And here's something I didn't know, actually. The movie was originally meant to be released on the 24th of May, right?
Why did it get delayed?
Because they wanted to release Aladdin instead. Now think about what I just said for a second. They wanted to release Aladdin instead.
What?
Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen Aladdin?
Honestly, I saw 3/4 of it and haven't seen the last quarter, so I have no idea what happens at the end bit.
Yeah. Well, okay. Without seeing it, tell me what you think happened.
Will Smith turns into Robin Williams and the film ends.
If only.
I know. Imagine if that happened.
Yeah,
no, I haven't got a clue. It was 3 months ago. So let's do this. What's he called? Aladdin flies in the carpet, picks up Marmozet.
Marmozet.
Marmozet picks her up on his flying carpet. Takes her to that Rick and Morty sketch where the guy Roy, he plays that game and it's inside the head. He puts a little headpiece on, and Roy dies because of the carpet thing falling on top of him. He takes him to that shop, finds Roy dead, but then realizes there's a better carpet on sale, buys that, sells the other carpet. This one doesn't fly, so they kill themselves, and that's it at the end of the film. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of perfect because Roy, when he dies, can you get the off-white Persian? Oh, yeah, that's exactly what happens. Aladdin saves the day somehow.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
Oh, you missed the whole bit where Jafar becomes a genie. Have you seen the original? Yeah, you heard me.
A long time ago.
Well, how do you
I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah,
all I remember is that Robin Williams is mint.
He is. To be fair, I thought Will Smith was the best bit of that movie. I thought it was really dull otherwise.
You know what? I actually thought he did a decent job.
He did. Quite good. And he didn't try to do what Robin Williams did. He did his own thing.
Can you just answer me this question? This is not racist at all. Is he black? Was he blue in the film?
He's both because he's in genie form, and then when he's going
Fresh Bel-Air Prince form as well.
I mean, pretty much. But when he's in genie form, he's blue, and then there's this whole bit I think they have to do, and I'm glad they did because I think having Will Smith blue for the whole movie would have been a lot.
A bit jarring.
And it's like, oh, you have to look like a human, like you can't just be going around like a genie. And then he kind of like snaps his fingers, and he's like, how about this? And he's like, you look great. And then they do the song, which is a really good song, to be fair.
Which song?
Oh god, what is it even called? Do you know, it's where he's introducing it because he wishes he's a prince, right?
Oh, Rust in Peace.
That's definitely the name of that album. The song's called Hangar 42.
Imagine if you just bust out a Megadeth song. That would be amazing.
It would make me appreciate that film more, I think.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was such a strange choice because it was Guy Ritchie who directed it, and like you can't tell. You really can't.
No.
Like if you're a fan of Guy Ritchie, like Snatch, Lock, Stock. I mean,
wasn't he in Prometheus? Or am I just tripping?
No, I don't.
Did he used
so.
to go out with Britney Spears or something? Am I just imagining this up?
I think you're maybe.
Who's Guy Ritchie again?
Maybe he did.
I don't actually know.
Well, he's a director, but he does cameos in his own movies. So have you seen Snatch?
He loves himself. No.
You know, Snatch is a great movie, man.
No.
Like,
we'll do an episode.
Not even ironically. Okay, we'll do a Guy Ritchie episode. We'll watch Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which is
Sounds
great,
good.
and watch Snatch, which is Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels 2, but it's better. That's
well.
The
Let us know in the
It's
comments
better.
what you like best, if there is a comments section wherever this goes. You write.
We will make one. We'll make one. We're getting wildly off course. Right.
Anyway,
Star Wars.
That was my fault.
Push back. Aladdin. Mind blowing. Disney. What are you doing? Doesn't matter.
That is crazy. Like
right. Now they're reporting these numbers. You always have to take with a big pinch of salt. Big pinch of pepper. POP. So a budget of $275 million.
wow.
Box office, as it stands at the moment, words, Joey. Over $1 billion, right? And that's obviously before the DVD comes out. Now, bearing in mind that that's overall, so that's including all territories. I don't even know if I've got that figure right, but that's the number I saw, so I wrote it down.
That is pretty mental. Like that is pretty mental, regardless.
It's a lot. I mean, well, it's not as good as I think they wanted it to be. Bearing in mind that Avengers Endgame did over $3 billion.
How much did Last Jedi do? Because I'm sure that was really good at the box office. Even though I'm not going to talk about that film here because I hate that film.
I appreciate it more now that I've seen Rise of Skywalker. For real, man. I really do. I mean, it still seems to suffer the same problems, but I now appreciate it more.
I will reserve. Tell you what, at the end of this, I might do a little bit of a tiny talk on Last Jedi, on my opinions, and then you can
let's
give me
do
yours.
It. Put a pin in that. Right.
Yeah.
So it had more pre-sale tickets than Avengers Endgame did.
That's cool.
Rise of Skywalker, which is actually really impressive.
Yeah.
Now think about 2019 for nerds. How big of a year that was. So it's
we had Game of Thrones finale. We had Avengers Endgame.
Oh my god, we did.
Yeah,
I forgot about that one. So yeah, Avengers Endgame, like big finales, and one of them is good. I would say.
Avengers.
Is Endgame. Yeah, I would say that's the best. Game of Thrones.
Which is worse, Rise of Skywalker or Game of Thrones ending? Oh. I'm not going to spoil anything about Game of Thrones.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I like that better than the Game of Thrones.
Yeah. And of course, if you're listening to a podcast about Rise of Skywalker and you think, are they going to spoil it? Yeah, we're going to spoil it. So, sorry guys.
That'll be in the.
My question would be, if you haven't seen it, why are you listening to this podcast?
Yeah. I don't want to find out about this film, or find out any spoilers. But I'll just click it anyway and watch it.
I want to find out something, but I only want to find out what I find out, and I don't want to know what I don't want to find out.
I want to unlearn the things I'm going to learn.
Yeah. Mint. Well, don't we all? There's lots of things I wish I could unlearn.
And unsee.
Yeah, right. Hold on. Let's do some more statistics. Obviously, as well, with the budget, generally speaking, you've got to double it for marketing.
Yeah.
So roughly speaking. Also, I don't know if that's true. I should stop saying things I don't know that are true.
Just say it anyway.
I'm going to say it anyway. How much did it make in its opening weekend? The film made $89.6 million on its first day, including the $40 million it made on the Thursday night previews. The 6th highest opening day of all time. It went on for an opening weekend of $177 million, which was the 3rd highest opening ever for a December release and the 12th best of all time.
Imagine how many Freddos you could buy with that much money.
So many. Well, maybe not anymore because Freddos are so bloody expensive. Am I right? Bloody inflation, mate. What's happening?
Oh, especially with this coronavirus panic now. I think prices are going to go up.
I don't even want to talk about that bloody thing anymore. I really don't.
I'm done.
I was just actually, that being said, 10 minutes before being here, I was watching a video about it.
What about Freddos or?
Yeah. It's just a guy, 10-minute video. Freddos are great, aren't they? And you go, yeah. He can't hear you, but he knows.
Great.
Right? Now, the funny thing I wanted to point out when I was doing a little bit of research there, you know when you go onto Google, you're right, I'm thorough, ladies and gentlemen. I go into Google for all my answers. You know when you go to Google and it said what people also search for and what Google recommends?
Oh, don't tell me.
The next most searched thing is, why is Rise of Skywalker bad?
Oh, we've got some answers for you.
We definitely do. Right. Let's start with what. So we've done the boring numbers, right? It's fine.
Yeah.
They are what they are.
Watched the film.
And they disclose these numbers. They get to decide what they tell people. You can guess. You can guess how much they really did. Bearing in mind, they hired a director, fired a director, and hired an even more famous director.
And a writer.
Really? Who?
Wait, am I just making that up?
No, I'm pretty sure JJ wrote it.
Oh, but didn't Colin Trevorrow write a original?
Yeah. So here's the thing as well. So what was it? So it's 2 years between Last Jedi, and this, right? But obviously they start production before Last Jedi's come out.
Yeah.
And I think that's got a lot to do with it. I think audience response and critical response to The Last Jedi affected this. Because obviously it was Colin Trevorrow, is that how you say his name?
Trevorrow? I don't know.
Trevorrow. I'm gonna say Trevorrow. I think is that. Don't shout. Don't at me. All right. I don't care.
No one cares.
Obviously he was doing one. He was hired. He had written. There was concept art. It was gonna go ahead, and then it didn't. So they brought in JJ instead, who wrote, produced, and then directed it. Now he had to do that in less time than he had for Force Awakens. He had less than 2 years. Now that's insane. This is a movie that's ending the trilogy of a trilogy, right?
That is. Bear in mind, there's like 40 years worth of films, isn't it?
Right. It's and I just need to say, God, Lucasfilm, what on earth are you doing? Have you seen the list of directors they've hired and fired?
No, I haven't.
They've hired and fired. They've fired more directors than Disney Star Wars movies that have been released.
That is depressing.
It's especially because they tend to hire duos as well. So for like Solo, there was 2 of them.
Oh,
so they technically fired 2 directors and then got on Ron Howard. And that's another one where it's like, I mean, that movie was finished. They'd finished that movie. They paid Ron Howard to come in and shoot it again. For the same money they could have reshot Solo. They could have just done another Star Wars movie.
Why didn't they? Because the new one that was
I
out
don't know.
Wasn't great.
That's the question. Why would they do that?
Very odd.
So JJ had really, really limited time to do that. And obviously Lucasfilm have shown this trend of this director is not following what we kind of want. Even though they hire them. I don't understand what they do. So they hire them, right? Then obviously they will pitch the idea and they'll start producing it and getting the ideas together, and then they'll decide they don't like it and fire them and hire someone else. I just don't understand what they're doing. And have you seen any of the concept for Duel of the Fates?
No.
By the way, that's what it was called. That is epic.
That sounds so much better than Rise of Skywalker.
It's such a and I was thinking about this today. The titles of the sequel trilogy, they don't really make sense.
No. Rise of Skywalker sounds like someone's nursing a hard-on. Or
That doesn't make
someone's waking
sense.
up. It's
The
stupid.
Last Jedi, she's not.
I know. And there's
And
plenty
he's
of
not,
other Jedis. There's Broom
right?
Boy as well. Oh,
Broom Boy,
Broom
right?
Boy?
Because obviously Rey survives at the end, right? So she's gonna start whatever. She's gonna start the Jedi Order again. The
Yeah.
Sith are dead, right? So that movie title doesn't. Force Awakens. Force was never dead. Luke's still alive.
I know.
That doesn't make sense. Leia's still alive. She's Force sensitive.
But
Kylo's
also,
alive.
Kylo Ren is using the Force all the
Right.
time, and it hasn't
Yeah.
been asleep.
As
so what are
and,
they talking
and
about?
as we now find out in this movie, so is Palpatine. Also, so is Snoke. So the Force is not awakened. The Force was
makes no
thoroughly
sense.
awake.
Makes
Like
absolutely zero sense.
honestly, the names drive me up the wall. I really love the names like the Phantom Menace, and honestly, I think that's a really good name. And I like
think it
A
is as
New
well.
Hope. It's just it's kind of a bit more. It's got a bit more of an edge to it. It's like
Yeah.
a bit. It's kind of it's like, oh, what does it mean? Like, so obviously like Phantom Menace, it was Darth Maul, right? But you kind of that was the whole point. But Force Awakens, like you've got all the answers straight away. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
No, it was very, very on the
it's like a
nose, wasn't
soft reboot. Yeah, yeah.
And it was a soft reboot. That whole film was basically New Hope, but just tiny little bits in between that weren't
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Big
but obviously,
hollow body, empty film.
yeah, like that video we watched talking about it, where it was like
Yeah.
that was kind of the point, but they've kind of missed the point of doing it that way.
Yeah.
Where if it's almost parody.
And I think Phantom Menace did a very good job of. I know a lot of people slate that film, but what they did really well was how they sort of like think of it like a song or a bit of music. It's like they use motifs from the old films, so like bits of Anakin blowing up the destroyer, him showing like that he's it's kind of like Luke destroying the Death Star in New Hope. He blows
Yeah.
up the Trade Federation thing and Phantom Menace, and he's good at piloting and all that stuff. And there's a big sort of a comparison between the two, and it looks it's good, and it's good to watch because you can feel the connection between the films, whereas these feel very disconnected from the other films. It's very much three separate people's story, and they've just disregarded the last 6 films, whereas the prequels, they very much had, because it was following Darth Vader's story, obviously, and that's why we were so interested and connected to it, because we were following from someone's story that is amazing and it's not finished. And that's why I was so excited after Return of the Jedi to have a film that was going to carry on the story. But what's happened is they just disregarded all the good points about those films, and just they might as well have just made it a different trilogy without the Luke Skywalkers and everyone in it, and just had these characters completely separate, and it would have been fine. But
Because they're
they
not
ruined
bad characters. Like
No,
the
they're not at
central
all.
3, they're not. They just for me, it doesn't really make sense. Like they're fulfilling Rey's Luke, right, and Poe is Hans, and
Yeah.
Finn is everyone else, and that doesn't
Everyone
work.
else.
But well, he is like he is a culmination of
yeah, he
like
is.
the sidekicks. I almost
Yeah,
feel.
he's like Leia, Chewbacca, and Lando in
and
one person.
if they were their own thing, where they didn't have the context of the Skywalker stuff, I think they would actually be quite engaging. If you go off the story,
Yeah.
I've got this. I'm
Yeah.
going to save this for later because there's something I really want to make a point about with
Of
this.
course, yeah.
They've all got interesting backgrounds.
Yeah.
They actually do.
I mean,
but
don't
it's just-
get...
It's not used.
Yeah, and we sure slating this The Rise of Skywalker, but don't get us wrong, there is some good points in it, which we will discuss, but
Yeah,
we're really going to focus on the bad points.
Definitely give credit where credit's due. Also, we're idiots. We're just talking about movies. I couldn't make a movie, right?
I'm not a movie reviewer.
I
no.
would never say like JJ or the writers are idiots, right? I don't know how. I think it's amazing that any movie gets made ever.
Of course,
if you think
yeah,
of the
definitely.
amount of people and the amount of money that's at stake, unbelievable, right?
We're just, as a consumer, we're just reviewing it
As a fan,
consumer.
right? So
As a fan,
obviously. Yeah, because if the world needs anything, it's more Star Wars fans complaining, right?
Definitely, you're damn right about that.
So, right. What's your initial thoughts of the movie then?
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, like your overall thing. Like, what would you say is your takeaway from it?
So, I'd say it's a spectacle. It sure got some really, really sort of eye-catching moments and beautiful sort of set design and art design, whilst also being carried by an amazing score. The music's fantastic in some parts, at least, but it's totally marred by a really poor, sloppy execution of fast cuts, edits, no story at all. Loads of plot holes. Like there's loads of bits where I could. it doesn't make sense to me. So I felt totally disconnected from the story from the very beginning, because you can. It's like, obviously, I know you said before that JJ had like barely any time, but that's not really any excuse, because it's his job, and he should have. They should have written this trilogy before doing it, and it feels like it's a big hash bash of films put together. And like, I know that when A New Hope was released, I don't think they had any other films written whilst that was out. I think it was supposed to be like a standalone film. And when they did Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, they sort of cobbled them together. But they had so much sort of source material to work from George Lucas. But with these films, George Lucas wasn't involved at all. It's like he went over and went, "Hey guys, I got this script that you want to use here."
I think you mean George Lucasade.
George Lucasade, yes. And they just threw everything out, put it in the bin, and they just went, "No, we're going to start from scratch, but we're going to use Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and all these people to have a massive input on it. And I'm going to be totally controlled by what they think and what they say. So I might make a cool idea, but it'll be governed by them. So we'll have to put these little crap Disney jokes in and just completely cut the flow with all these really bad comedic moments which don't sit very well at all as an adult. Maybe it would be different if I was a kid. But as an adult, I can't stand it, and it really, really disrupts the flow. But the main point, for me, the story is almost non-existent. Because everything, it doesn't make sense. Nothing's backed up. There's no exposition on anything. Everything's so quick at the start. It's just, it feels like it's two films put together without any story to connect it, and it's just rushed, really, really badly done. And none of the motives of any of the characters are
they don't
clear
make
enough.
any sense.
So you can't connect with them, and all the deaths and the fake deaths that happen make all the deaths that do happen.
Of them?
You just don't even care.
If you just look at the ending, right? So this bit, Carno dies, right? So, and Rey brings him back.
Yeah.
Right? No, sorry. Yeah, Carno dies. He's killed by the Emperor, right? Then he comes back and he helps.
Oh no, wait! He's killed beforehand by Rey anyway.
Oh jeez, see, this is what I mean. Like, it's
like
just...
no one cares. It keeps happening.
Oh, sorry. Right? Yeah, sorry. Okay, first one, stabbed by Rey.
Yep.
Right.
Then she
which
brings
is
him
immediately
back.
undone, right, and kills Leia.
So
somehow
it gets rid of that whole entire fight scene,
right,
which is supposed to be epic, but it's not, because now he's just back to life and he's just sitting there looking sorry for himself.
Yeah.
Then Leia dies for no reason.
Well, Emperor Palpatine throws him off the edge, right?
Yep.
Then he comes back, helps Rey. Rey dies. He brings her back to life.
They do a little
awkwardly kiss. Then he dies.
So it's just like,
what? What does death mean then?
Nothing
does
anymore.
Death mean in this
Not
world?
in this
what
film.
does it mean?
Because Chewbacca dies, and you're like,
Chewbacca's dead. Yeah.
This character you've loved, he's been in all 5 of the films, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And then he's actually fine. He's all right, and you're like, oh, fair enough. Yeah, that's no problem. I can get down with
Chewbacca's
that.
in like 7. He's in 7 of them.
That's what I meant.
8.
Yes.
He's in Solo as well.
Oh gosh, yeah, he's in it. Yeah.
Oh god, he's a
C-3PO and R2-D2 are the only ones who are in all of them.
Yeah, but C-3PO kind of dies, except he doesn't. He doesn't die. They wipe his memory.
Yeah,
except
basically,
everyone
who dies in that film doesn't die, except for the Emperor. And that one guy from Heroes and one episode of Lost, he dies. The X-Wing pilot.
And then
Optimus.
even with the Emperor not dying, with the Emperor dying and not coming back, he was previously dead and has come back. Like it just doesn't. It's like the Luke and then the Force Ghost, and you're like, what is this? Like, death literally doesn't mean a thing in this world.
Mate, my favorite worst bit about that film is when Poe says right at the very beginning, somehow Palpatine's back. I mean, you maybe want to expand on that and tell me how. Like,
don't even, actually, no, fuck that. Don't tell me. There's a lot of this movie telling us what happened. Why don't you show me? This is a movie. We have the visual medium in front of us. We can see it. I hate this with characters as well, where they go, I feel this way. I think this. Why don't you show us? Why don't you show us what they feel and think?
In all the other Star Wars films as well, they left it to the viewer's imagination as well, a lot of it. And that's what I think sat well with the audiences. And when people watch them,
nuance.
Yeah,
isn't it? Like, you can portray a character being upset by someone with a look.
But you don't have to say, I'm upset. It's like watching an anime where they explain everything.
Yeah, we're not children, amazingly. 2 adult men complaining about a kids' movie.
Yep.
and saying, we're not children, but apparently we are, right?
Oh, so honestly, this is hard because I'm a big Star Wars fan. I know you are as well, but for me to begrudge a film, my favorite Star Wars film, well, one of them anyway, is Revenge of the Sith. So for me to say, a film of Star Wars is bad is hard, because I think Revenge of the Sith is a good film, and I really like Phantom Menace, bar Jar Jar.
Really? I think at the moment, more than half the Star Wars movies are really bad.
To be honest,
think about it,
I think the new
most of them
trilogy
are
and
not
Han
great.
Solo are the bad ones for me. Everything else is decent. I even like Attack of the Clones. So
the prequels. I watched that like a couple of weeks ago. Good God, I couldn't not pause it and just go. There was a team of people that let this dialogue go by.
Right. When I say I like them, I don't mean that they're not flawed. The dialogue is pretty
the
terrible.
concepts are great. I really, especially in that movie, the bit in the Colosseum is great.
Man, it's so good. But you know what I mean?
Good.
Like, those bits in those films are so well... I know, George Lucas should have definitely been on as some kind of creative influence.
I don't know. I think easy to say at this point.
What do you mean, sorry?
I think it's easy to say at this point he should have been involved.
Yeah.
But anyway. But
like... You know what I mean? Like, what's your overtake on the film? Anyway, I've given mine my sort of percent there.
Well, it's a lot of things happen because they do.
Yeah,
right,
like fan service as well.
There isn't really a story. The story is that this is ending. Right, that's the story. The story is that we need to wrap this up, and it's like the characters know this. Ray's away. Oh, well, we need to wrap this up. I can't keep this going for another 2 hours, you know?
Yeah, and it's painful. You're right, because when you're watching it feels like even the characters and the actors are just like, can we just get this over with? I want to eat my chicken dippers.
It is a little painful. Have you seen that video when, it's like a compilation video of the journalists asking the Star Wars actors, what do they think of Rise of Skywalker? And they go, and it's just like, I think it's a movie. Like, it's like just stuff like that.
Gosh, that's upsetting.
For me, not a lot of nuance. It's really kind of building blocks. Like, there's a lot of, especially involving Finn, of him walking into a room and they're just going to tell us what they're going to do, and then they go do it.
Yes.
I mean, you don't need this to happen. Like, why? Do we need this?
You know what? We made that joke as well while we were watching it together through online, like where he makes this point where he's like, Ray, I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, just tell her.
What?
Like, don't wait.
Firstly,
you mentioned it like
her.
3. Why? It's not even
better.
that important. You know what he wants to tell her? He's force sensitive. That's it. That's all he wanted to say.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's literally it. And I'm sure if she's a user of the Force, she could tell.
She would know.
Why would he not know that?
Everyone would know.
He's a stupid stormtrooper. That's
several times he picks up a lightsaber.
Yeah, he's an idiot. He's an absolute moron. And
even the bit where him and Poe are going to get shot, and even Poe goes to him and goes, "Hey, what's that thing you were going to tell Rey?" And Finn's like, "Shut up, dude!" Like,
I know.
Like, why?
Like, you're thinking it would be something better.
Just say it.
It would have been better if it was like, oh, I fancy Poe, and they got together. That would have been amazing. Like, you could feel the sexual tension between the two of them.
We're going to talk about that gay kiss. Oh,
yeah.
Right. Just to clarify. Great. Also, it doesn't matter, right? It just I have no prejudice against it whatsoever.
What are you talking about?
The two women kissing, right? And anyone who kicks off about that is an idiot. I really do think that. However,
it feels like a cop out. They should have made either a bigger deal about it, or they shouldn't have just put it in at all, because it kind of feels like a sort of a piss take for LGBT.
It's like everything else in this movie. Oh, we're going to tick LGBTQ.
Yeah, gosh, that's hard to say.
Plus as well.
But it feels like a kick in the teeth for them, because they're just being referenced like for a split second, whereas they could have made a character and then made like a storyline around it, so then they know that they're involved as well.
If only there were two characters in the central plot that had a relationship like that.
Gosh, Finn and Poe would have been perfect.
Could you imagine? I as soon as you see them in The Force Awakens, you're like,
it's like a massive sexual tension. That would have been,
and it's
that would have created a mint dynamic throughout the film, because obviously Finn's sexual desires for Rose just happen for a split second while she blows up or whatever, and then that's it. And then he fancies this new horse girl in Rise of Skywalker, and then there's no tension between them two whatsoever. So it's like, you know, when you're watching The Office or you're watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you're rooting for Jim and Pam, or you're rooting for Amy and Jake, and all these other TV series, Ross and Rachel. Mm-hmm. And in the original Star Wars, you had Anakin and Padme, even though it was weird because she was a pedo. But you also had...
And there was no chemistry at all.
Yeah, no chemistry. But Han Solo and Leia. And that you were
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you've got to root for that. And then,
Iconic.
it's massive iconic duo. And then you've got nothing in this film, and you've just got
No.
there's just nothing to make you want to watch it. Like when I want to watch these films again, I don't want to watch those films. I just want to go to the other 6, and maybe Rogue One, 'cause that's a good film.
But then back to kisses as well, like talking about like Rey and Kylo.
Yeah,
Like that was never established as a will they won't they sort of push and pull.
Literally,
it wasn't.
they
They
were
were
like,
enemies.
I bet JJ at the very end was just like, yeah, sure, we'll just have them kiss at the end. And he was just like, go on then, yeah. And I was just like, what's the point?
Doesn't make sense. It's that Disney thing. It's like it is that Disney thing because in every movie where they involve a princess, there's always a princess and a guy. And
I had a big problem with. You know
I have
what?
a big
Right?
problem with it. Yeah, it's awful, and it's awful for like. I always think this. I'm gonna preach the feminist thing here. I think it's awful for a little girl to grow up watching a Disney movie going, oh, well, a princess, what does a princess do? Well, she looks pretty and she waits for a boy to rescue. Fuck that, man. Absolutely fuck that. And it's great with like stuff like Moana and even Frozen and Tangled, man.
Yeah, man.
Where like these really great female characters. I mean, even Rey, other than the fact her character arc isn't very good, she's a good character.
But it was refreshing, wasn't it, to have a female lead as well? I bet for female Star Wars fans, that must have been good as well, because you've had 6 films of a male, white, straight male guy doing everything, and now it's a woman.
100%.
I mean, Rogue One, Felicity, whatever the hell her name is,
exactly,
Jones,
and
she's fantastic, and she proper holds and carries that film. And it doesn't matter whether she's a woman or a man. It literally doesn't matter. It's just it's good, and she's a good character.
No, it doesn't matter, but it's also fantastic to see. Oh,
and Rey's such a complicated character in this film because they've really messed up with everything. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I mean, what is the crack with Palpatine and him being? I just can't imagine him having sex. Who's his wife? Who's the poor woman who had sex with him? Imagine that decrepit peen. I mean, what would that have been like? His sex life. I mean, do you reckon he's into BDSM? Do you?
He's a dom. He's a Sith.
Do you reckon? Or
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's a sub because he's so dumb, right? Yeah.
You know what? I was reading online. There's some theories. You know that bald woman in the little pod in Phantom Menace that's next to Palpatine. Well, Senator, whatever his name is. What's his original name? Chancellor
Senator
Palpatine.
And
she's
then it becomes Chancellor. Oh, who knows?
Yeah, Sheev Palpatine's his real name. But that bald lass, there's theories that's his wife, and that's who's the grandmother of Rey. But they never really talk about it. I'm assuming they're going to release a comic, or they're going to release a TV series, or another film explaining a little bit about this, because they can't not, because it's ridiculous to have this.
Well, they have, but they've explained the whole Emperor thing anyway. That obviously clone sort of stuff, but you shouldn't. Supplementary reading shouldn't explain stuff that the movie doesn't explain. It should explore really interesting things. Right, yeah. Exactly. And this isn't doing that.
Yeah, and you know, this film is just like a big empty vessel full of spectacular special effects and John Williams' really, really amazing score. And that's it.
He's so good, man.
He's done really well with the music.
Nails it.
The themes, Kylo Ren's theme, and on his redemption arc at the end when he plays the theme, and it's more happy, and it's mixed with Rey's. It's amazing.
Mate,
it's
even the bit that made me think about it was when Rey's on the Death Star. And
the Imperial March bit.
That's
mate.
perfect.
Yeah,
absolutely perfect.
John Williams nailed
it.
Hit
that beat.
Really, really nailed it.
He, to be fair, he always does. The music in these movies is always amazing.
Absolute genius. But like, you know, like in Last Jedi, how Yoda was just like a proper fan service moment. Like I didn't care that he was there. It was just like, you're only putting him in here. There's no reason for him to be here. You just put him in there. And it felt like Lando was like that because he says some really creepy thing to that girl at the end, and that's basically all he does. There's nothing else.
His daughter.
That's the thing. It looks like it's his daughter because the way they're talking about
but
like
he wants
where
to
you
have sex
from.
with her.
Yeah, and he's like, let's find out. Wow. I swear there's going to be like a porn version of that somewhere, and I don't want to watch
34,
it.
man.
Yeah, Rule 34. But I mean,
right? No, go on.
You go. No, you go.
No, because I was going to move on, but
I've forgotten what I was going to talk about it. So you go.
Great. This is what they came here for. I just wanted to go through because I made notes as I was watching, so they're kind of in order of the movie, and some of them kind of make me laugh because I kind of can't remember what I meant when I wrote. Oh,
good.
Note.
Let's do it.
Okay. So first note is a compliment, right? I really love the opening. I really love that there's this bit with Kylo Ren. He's finding it's not called a holocron, but that's what it is, right?
A wayfinder or
Where it's
whatever.
the wayfinder. Just call it a holocron, whatever.
Yeah. That's what they're called in
and
all the
then-
other Star Wars things.
Exactly. And then he uses that to find the Emperor.
Yeah, that
Great.
seems pretty bad.
Perfect. That's cool. But that's lifted from Jewel of the Fates.
No way.
There is this whole there's this whole bit where I nearly called him Ray. Kylo Ren finds the holocron, and it's a message from the Emperor, but the holocron realizes, or it knows, that it's not Darth Vader, right? So it blows up and disfigures Kylo Ren, so he has to use Beskar steel to fix up his face.
That's what
So he's
Mandalorian guys
right,
have,
yeah, the
on
Mandalorian armor, right? Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's that whole thing, the holocron that he finds in this original concept. The holocron he finds is the only way to find where the Emperor is, but in the original, it's not the Emperor. It's the Emperor's like master, right? Who's this weird, disgusting creature thing,
Oh, wow.
and that's really cool.
That's pretty
Right.
badass.
So they've taken that from that, and then obviously then put in, well, we'll take that bit, but he finds the Emperor, and I like that, traveling to a weird place, using this weird Sith artifact to do it. Great, cool.
Mate, when I watched that in the cinema, my mouth dropped. I was actually really impressed with that bit.
Yeah, because that scene where he's killing what kind of looks like Vietnamese locals.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a
but
bit, it's a good scene.
graphically,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Aesthetically looks
cinematically,
fantastic.
it looks
The
really
colour.
good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then also we go straight to the pyramid. Why is it a pyramid?
I don't know.
Why is the Emperor there?
It feels
Is
like
Snoke a clone? Yeah.
it's just you go because it's I'm getting riled up.
It's just one of these things. You ask more questions than it answers. Which, for a start of the movie, I don't mind. But please tell me later, because we've had two movies of Snoke, right?
Yeah.
He was suddenly killed in the second, which is weird, and then it turns out, well, he's been the puppet after all, and the Emperor's been in charge. But then there's never throughout the movie do they answer it. No one questions it.
No.
How is he back? But then that's already set in the stones for death doesn't matter in this world. People can die and come back at any point. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I was reading as well. So the little guys who are there with him are supposedly called Sith loyalists or cultists or whatever you want to call them, and they are people throughout the years since Return of the Jedi have like followed the Emperor. And the reason, because obviously he's got a big fleet of Star Destroyers. And I said to Dave when we were watching at the start of the movie, because I forgot that happened, he's got those people.
Me, Dave. No one else, listeners. That was me, Dave. There's not a second Dave.
Yeah, sorry, you. I was saying to you that like, why has he waited this long to do this? Why didn't you just do this like at the end of Return of the Jedi? But the reason is, I had to Google this to find out, which is ridiculous, because they've been building the ships. They are not just ships that were there originally. These people on that little Exegol Island have been building these ships, so it's taken them this long, and this is why he's finally unearthed.
But then why waste with the First Order then? If your ultimate plan is to have, we don't have time.
Yeah.
But anyway, the whole thing because we find out pretty soon on, don't we, that Rey's a Palpatine.
They hint at it very, very at the start with Palpatine talking about her.
But and I love this because the opening of the third movie of this trilogy immediately undercuts the second.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yeah.
It does not hold back. It just goes, nope, that one doesn't matter.
Yeah. And
Right? So we just move.
There's no importance to her finding out who her parents are because supposedly they're just junk traders, and there's no inspiration for her to be, because like Luke Skywalker's dad was at the start of A New Hope, he didn't know that it was Darth Vader, but he thought it was an epic Jedi, and he was just like, I'm empowered by this man who was an amazing hero, a war hero, and he got killed by my biggest villain, and he finds out that's his dad, and he's just like that's proper gravity.
That's an illusion being shattered.
Yeah. But now she has nothing. She has no inspiration because she's just a runt, isn't she? And it's just
the movie would still carry on if she wasn't the granddaughter.
Yeah, I mean, we all
everything
thought
would
that
happen
for
exactly
the
the
two
same.
films, and no one cared. Like, we already got the Skywalker connection because Kylo Ren's Han Solo and Leia's daughter, so we've already got that sort of family tie there. And it's just, it's a bit stupid. They could have at least alluded to it in the first Force Awakens and had some kind of inkling that the Emperor's back, or at least build it up and had facts. And then, you know what good things do, good films and series, they recall back to those films, and they could have showed parts where they're like realizing, but obviously because they didn't write any of these films before they made them, like they should have they couldn't do that, so they just had to make it up as they were going on. That's why it feels so rushed and so anticlimactic when he's like, "Oh, by the way, you raise
any revelation just doesn't really matter."
Yeah,
like because it doesn't affect. At first, it doesn't affect the story. No, there's no other point. That's it. It just doesn't affect. It doesn't. The point with Luke is that he thought the world was this way, but it turns out his mentor was lying to him, and that the person who he thinks is his greatest enemy is actually the person he's been wanting to meet the whole time, which is his father, right?
Yeah.
And then that is then resolved in the sixth one, in Return of the Jedi. Well, it's the sixth movie in chronological order, I guess. And then he almost has the same arc as his dad, where he nearly kills him.
Yeah.
But doesn't, right? And then Darth Vader's arc is finished because he kills the Emperor. Right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Driven by character emotion and motivation, not driven forward for, I don't know what, ticking a box. Like, oh, well, we need to wrap up Rey. We need to, well, obviously the Emperor's back for some reason. We need to wrap up Kylo Ren. We need to do this. We need to do that. And they're just ticking boxes, and we're just going to go along. And
do you think they should have waited a long time before making the 3 films and like actually had a proper plan? Obviously, the bad thing is they might have missed out because Carrie Fisher obviously unfortunately died, so they might not have had Leia in it. But they didn't know that was going to happen.
No, they didn't know that. I've heard and said again repeatedly that Star Wars and Lucasfilm need like a Kevin Feige over at Marvel.
They do.
Kevin Feige oversees everything.
Yeah.
And they don't have that stuff. They have Kathleen Kennedy, but she's not really that. I don't know if it's that, but she just doesn't have this sense of. I don't know her. I've never met her, but it feels like she doesn't. She's looking at one movie on its own.
Yeah.
Almost forgetting that it's part of this, but then it is a part of this, so I need to reference things. It's that's not how it works. Like Marvel have done the first really, really successful extended cinematic universe.
They've got so many comics though as well to work from, so it's like they've already been written. Really,
so does Star Wars though.
I know,
that's outrageous.
The ridiculous thing is that they threw away all the stuff that was canon. So they threw away Knights of the Republic, they threw away the books, all the magazines, comics, whatever. And then now they're starting to bring them back. So they've reintroduced Revan into Star Wars, and now he's canon. So that means that all the Knights of the Republic stuff and the Old Republic is now canon, which they threw out originally. So now they're just backtracking. And they're realizing that they're making mistakes. They had this plan, they're going to release a Star Wars movie every year. And then whatever the name of the guy who runs the Star Wars bit in Disney was just like, or woman, whatever. It was just like, actually, we're going to do it every couple of years because we realized that we're not making good films. So it's like they're constantly backtracking and they're making mistakes, but it's run by money, and it's just a money-making film because you release a film and say it's Star Wars, people are going to go and watch it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we talked about this earlier. I mean, obviously, let's start this with like saying, of course, every piece of art that is mainstream is made for money, right? Like we're not under any illusion that no movie is made because of the fun of it, right?
Yeah.
They've all got the commercial aspect.
It's pretty ridiculous, isn't it?
Unfortunately, they won't learn because, like we've already gone over, they made so much money. They continue to make money. When they release the DVDs, the Blu-rays will sell out. Like it's just that's what it is. It's this megalith. It's a money printing machine.
Yeah, 100%.
And why would they care? Like if you're making billions of dollars off one franchise, by the way, because Disney also own Marvel, right?
They own Fox now.
So 3 of the biggest movies of the year were all Disney, right?
Yeah.
Because then they had The Lion King that year, did they not?
That bombed though, didn't it?
No, it did really well.
Really?
Yeah, but it's not good.
Gosh, I haven't seen it. See, it just goes to show like
as a tech demo, it's amazing.
I gotta say, yeah, it probably looks amazing, but I don't think
the cast is amazing, but they can't emote because they're using real animals. The point in the cartoon is that it was a cartoon; they could make the animals kind of
do
any expression they want.
Why would they do that?
It was so weird. It's like so they got James Earl Jones. That's his name, isn't it? James Earl Jones.
Yeah, Darth Vader.
To come in because he does Mufasa, right?
Yeah.
It's like, do your lines again, but do it with less emotion because the character's face can't move the way that we need it to make it look convincing.
That's a terrible idea.
Right. It's a really bad idea. And like same with Simba, I really like Matthew Broderick as Simba. I think that's really good casting. It's like absolutely really good voice. And all the cast is absolutely perfect. Like Timon and Pumbaa, absolutely iconic. And I do think Seth Rogen, and I do not know the name of the other guy, they do something really interesting with it. but you really feel like the holding back. Like
I've never seen it, but I'm gonna
they've
have to watch it
said
now.
you should. It's very weird because obviously animals' faces don't move that way.
Well, they're not a motive species like that for humans anyway,
No.
are they?
And then, like in the cartoon as well, like there's these big musical numbers, and they try and redo them. There's one bit in particular, you know, the song "I Just Can't Wait to Be King,"
Oh gosh, I can imagine that being awful.
and it's just in the Disney original cartoon, it's so fantastical and over the top and colourful. Because this is a fiction, right? It's a fictional world. But then let's make it real, and it's just so dull, and all the colours are greyed out, and you're just like, this is not entertaining, and it's really, really, it feels like a slog.
That's awful.
It's very strange. As a tech demo, I think what they've done technically, oh my God. Watch that and tell me it doesn't look real or better than real.
Well, that's the thing, like Star Wars, the tech demo-wise, some of the effects are fantastic. The budget
I
was
don't
obviously
think
great.
in this movie. I've literally written here, there's a really stark jump between the live action and the CG.
What, in Star Wars?
Yeah, well, in Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, did you
Really
see
stark.
in the trailer? There was this trailer where Kylo Ren's battling Rey, and you can see in the reflection that Kylo Ren's
There's
not
no cape.
Yeah, no cape, but he's wearing a cape in the thing, and it's just like that's like you are making one of the biggest films ever, and you've made that mistake. Whereas the team is probably about hundreds of people.
But like the final space battle is like really, it looks like clay. It's really weird because there's all these bits. So you know, like when the Star Destroyer is falling down, and then Finn and that other character, I do not know her character name, and they jump on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
it looks so weird because there's this bit where they zoom in, like there's a close up on the face, and then they zoom out again, and it's like, oh, we're back, we're real, we're back to CG, we're real, back. It's like you have to integrate this better. It looks really clay-like. It just doesn't.
I agree. I feel like I've completely took you off track, though. Let's go back to your point when, because you were talking about the start of the film. You mentioned the pyramid and stuff. Because you were going from some notes from there, but I just totally detracted.
Well, I've got nothing else there.
Oh, well,
that is what it is. I actually kind of like the look of a lot of it. I think the Sith stuff looks great. The whole cloning thing looks cool.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no explanation, but it looks cool.
Yeah,
like you see Snoke in a jar. Who doesn't want that on their shelf?
Yeah, Andy Serkis just crammed in a little marmalade jar. It's great.
I would want that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis is great, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Though he's awful in Mowgli, which is his... So you know how they did the Jungle Book, like 4 years ago? Well, 2 years ago, they did Mowgli, right?
What's that?
Exactly. So Mowgli, obviously, is the character from the Jungle Book, right?
Have they made a new story?
No. The Disney one is the Disney one, and then Mowgli is based more on the book, which has nothing to do with Disney. But we've already seen the story.
So why bother?
And you should watch that as well. Now, if you want to talk about flipping the other way, The Lion King, hyper realistic. Mowgli is like live action, but it's weird, and they've really animated the faces, and some of the voice acting's horrendous. So Andy Serkis is Baloo the bear, right?
Oh man,
right, Baloo the bear. You know Baloo the bear, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, lovable, right? In this one, and I get that they're being faithful to the book. He's a Cockney geezer.
No.
I'm Baloo the bear, and you've got to live like wolves, and it's awful.
No.
I tell you what, watch it for Christian Bale as Bagheera. That is no. It's amazing. It's so good. He is so intense, dude. That man is so intense. A previous Batman? Are you kidding? He nails Bagheera. It's so good.
To be fair, he's a really good actor.
I love him. I really do. He's so nuts.
They should have got some really big actors in for Star Wars. I think that might have helped some of the.
I don't think they can do that. I really don't. I mean,
everyone's
they tried it with Laura
ruined.
Dern, didn't they? Well, there's that. Everyone, we talked about this. Is that everyone most people get involved in Star Wars, their careers are over.
Yeah,
that's it.
A lot of them. There's like Natalie Portman, Harrison Ford, sort of Mark Hamill. His isn't that bad, but a lot of the other actors are just gone. Ewan McGregor's is good, but quite a lot of them are just nah.
Yeah.
You look at Jake Lloyd,
Harrison Ford, of course. Yeah. But Laura Dern obviously was in.
Who the hell is she?
Again,
is that the purple?
Well, she's
woman?
Holdo. Is that her name?
Yeah, but
yeah. Purple haired woman.
Oh,
she was, and then the other thing of like, oh well, I'm in a space movie, so I'm going to dye my hair purple.
Yeah,
it's like no one else has purple hair. What are you doing? They've all got normal hair. Like why? Oh, it's so weird.
It feels
Her
like
neck's so long. What's that about?
You know what's weird? Like I'm in my head before I saw Mandalorian, I was giving excuses to the Star Wars films, the new ones, and I was just like, well, you know, it's Disney's input and it's not George Lucas's input anymore. So it's not as creative. It doesn't look very, imaginative. It just looks like a lot of it's like real life, and it's not, because like Star Wars, like an expanding sort of an expansion on real life. So everything that was exaggerated and very futuristic, techie, like blue milk, everything's totally different. Like even chairs are different. Everything that people do, there's no cell phones. Everything's very, very different. But in this one, I was just expecting Ray to pull out like an iPhone at some point, because there's not a lot of creativity. But then I watched Mandalorian, and gosh, they've done a really good job of that.
Oh,
and
they have, haven't they?
I'm not obviously going to spoil anything about that, but the set designs and the characters and everything, it's very, very well done. And that's what it could have felt like for the Star Wars movies.
As a TV show.
Yeah, it's
it does
a TV
not
show.
have the budget that the movie has.
Yeah, and it's better. And it's just insane.
So good. Do you know how they filmed Mandalorian? Do you know how they got it all?
No.
The whole set, right? So they build like some practical stuff like tables and a bar.
Yeah.
Everything is, they have these like really high definition screens all around the set.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're in the desert, right? So they will design the desert background and then have that on the screens on set. So the lighting is perfect. You believe they're there.
I did not notice that at all. I thought they were in the desert.
Go watch it again. So, like the desert bit. So episode 5.
Yeah.
No, 4, which is the one with the other bounty hunter. No, 5, because 4 Sanctuary.
Yeah.
5's the one where he's with the other bounty hunter. So that bit where they're talking to the sand people. So all around them, they have the sand in front of them initially, right? And then obviously the actors. But all around them, it's screens. And you can't tell.
It's
amazing.
Honestly, they've done a really good job.
Yeah, rewatch all of it and bear that in mind with the screens. It's mind blowing. Like they do it, like even with a hangar, right? Yeah. So they'll build the hangar, and then the hangar in space is the screen, and it just is showing space.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's really good. It's really good.
With Rise of Skywalker, like, I think there's some really good points as well. So like the good points for me, there's some really tense moments with, like, I mean, you mentioned it as well when watching it, the Force conversations that they were having with each other.
Yeah, the Force link.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Really good idea. It's fresh. It's brand new, and it adds a really different dynamic to it. And that for me, it was a really good character sort of building moment, and you felt connected to them, and it was really good to watch. It was tense. The lightsaber battles were, quite impressive. They weren't great, but they were pretty good.
Yeah, they were okay.
I really liked that desert island that they went to. Well, not island, but that desert place with the people who.
You said people. That but they didn't really do anything with it. They were just there, and then they ran away when all the firing started.
Yeah, and I said to Dave, I said to you, I was just like, what is the point of having them there if they're not? Because these people are, right at the very start on the crawling edit sequence at the start, it says that Kylo Ren is the supreme leader, and it's just like, well, there's no real sort of fear against him because he's just some teenager. That how you were scared of them in New Hope and there was an actual threat because they killed people and they did bad things. Sure, they humanized them sometimes, but Darth Vader, he was a dick. He did some awful things. He killed kids and he blew up entire planets and stuff. And sure, they blew up stuff.
The younglings.
Oh, that line. But I know this sounds sadistic, but they should have killed those people because there's no need for them to be there. Otherwise, they were just meant to look good, or have them help or do something. But they were literally just thrown away, and then they just disappear. It's just like they didn't exist. They fly now. Let's just not talk about that bit.
Oh,
I hate that. I hate that so much.
They say it 3 times.
I hate it.
They fly now. They fly now? Question mark.
They fly now.
They fly now! Exclamation mark! Question mark.
Don't.
They fly now.
I hate that bit so much. Those bits of the new films are ruining it for me. It's why I don't really like a lot
watching
of
it and then telling us. It's like watching it and then telling us what's happening.
It's like imagine telling the joke and then explaining the joke because A, people didn't get it, or B, people didn't laugh. And it's just like, well, yeah, that's what there's one bit where, like, the Babu Frick bit where he's like, Babu Frick, my oldest friend. And it's funny,
actually funny
because it's not explained. You said it's situational because it's something that happened and it's funny as hell. Yeah. But the rest of them are just like, oh gosh, it makes them unwatchable. And I don't know if that's just me, but I really dislike that about the new Star Wars films. It's really hard to watch them back. And
do you want to hear my next 2 notes?
Yeah, go for it. No, go for it.
You ready? Right, 2 notes, 5 words. One of them's 4 words together, and then the other one's just one word on its own, and you'll know what I mean.
I'm excited.
Okay, first one. C-3PO can fuck off. Fucking
Oh gosh, I hate him. He's a dick, isn't he?
I hate him so much, and I don't hate him in the originals.
No, neither do I.
I don't hate him in the prequels, and I
really disliked him in
cannot
this trilogy.
stand him. He is consistently irritating.
They just make him like that.
Is not. Oh, the bit where Han Solo, you might not have recognized me because the red. Like, what? Get him out of here. Why is there a red arm? I thought that came and went.
They explained
he had
it,
a red
but in a
arm, then he
comic.
didn't.
That's how. That's what Star Wars does now.
Okay.
They make a big point.
I don't
and explain it in a comic. Yeah.
Is that what we do now? He's not in Last Jedi. He is in Last Jedi. I do not remember what he does.
No,
if anything.
I don't remember him being in Last Jedi.
And in this movie, he is beyond annoying.
Like that scene where he's
beyond
talking about
annoying.
the festival, and they look at him, and then he looks behind as if it's like a joke or something. And just like, C-3PO, people are dying. This is not a joke. You fucking dick.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's very annoying. He's very irritating.
That being said, I really like evil 3PO.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
that was
that's
badass.
Really cool when they do that voice. But I really undercut. I'm taking a last look at my friends. It's like, oh my god. Firstly, Chewbacca's not there, and neither's R2D2. What are you talking about?
I know, and
Your
before
friends?
that, he says,
You don't know
"RTD,
these
you're my
people."
best friend," and he's just like, "You're a dick."
He's never seen these three people in a room together until now.
Yeah. What is his problem? What is his beef? I don't understand.
But it doesn't matter because they erase his memory.
Yeah, and
then
then he
back.
brings it back, even though R2D2 units
Oh.
have a really, really temperamental or whatever he says storage function.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, don't bring that up and then just completely like undercut it. It makes no sense. Oh gosh,
Yeah,
what's your next
doesn't
point?
make
What's your
any
next point?
sense. Yep. Oh,
I like that.
one word.
Yep.
Rose.
Oh gosh, she's in it for like a minute or something, isn't she?
It's I told you the number the other day.
I forgot
It's
what it is.
something
It's something really underwhelming.
1 minute 40 seconds or
That
something
is
ridiculous.
depressing.
In a 2 hour 20. Oh jeez. Anyway,
Like,
right, bless her.
yeah,
right?
then-
Because she got harassed.
Yeah, and she's not a
for
bad
Last
actor.
Jedi, and
Her
it's
character sucks.
No, it's not her fault.
But like, what are they doing? Like, they built her up to be this main character and bringing a really strong female lead in, and then just give her 40 seconds worth of dialogue in the new film and a love interest between Finn's gone because he's interested in bloody equestrian horsewoman. Like,
Except he's not because he's interested in Poe.
yeah,
It's so
just
weird.
like, what are you doing?
Oh,
like this
yeah.
bi-curious character who never gets any, and it's just like either get some or don't put it in the film. Because no one cares.
Confirms my theory that stormtroopers are castrated.
That might be the truth. He might be a plant. He might be
Because
asexual.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it would be. Because if you cut them off when they're young and make them stormtroopers, they're not going to want to have sex with other stormtroopers. They're going to fight and be more productive, aren't they? I'm sure.
Yep. It's like the Unsullied in Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
right?
Do you reckon the
It's really
clones, like Jango Fett clones, were like? Do
Jango Fleck.
you reckon they were circumcised, not circumcised? Do you reckon they were castrated?
I think they were probably.
Or they were impotent anyway?
Maybe like in the real. Yeah, like they were infertile.
What happened to them, by the way, in New Hope? Because they don't all die at Revenge of the Sith, do they?
Well, they kind of. No, they don't. Well, there's that bit in The Force Awakens when Hux says to Kylo Ren, it goes, unless your stormtroopers aren't up to it. Something like this. It's like, unless your stormtroopers aren't good enough, maybe the Emperor would prefer a clone army, right?
So
So
are some of the stormtroopers
yeah,
still
exactly.
clones
So
in
when
New Hope, or was that just never?
I don't think so because I think it's too long. I think it's too long a time. I think all these new ones, all the stormtroopers, are now.
Then again,
the kids that stole them.
Dave, this might actually be explained in Clone Wars. We haven't seen that, so we don't know. So it might actually get explained because I know in Star Wars Rebels, there's a couple of clones left who went rogue, and you get to see these characters, and it's quite interesting because they're the people who are left. It's kind of like the Jedi, where you know, not all Jedi died in Revenge of the Sith, which is really cool. That's a really cool idea. Because you think about it, there are a ton of Jedi, and you've got people like Cal Kestis.
So
you've
many.
got
well, yeah, because they can keep doing stuff like this, like extended stuff where they didn't get all the because no way did they.
So maybe there is some
they're
clones
Jedi.
somewhere, and we just don't know fully about it. Because
I think that the idea is that they were phased out when the Empire officially came about. They stopped the clones, and then they started doing the way stormtroopers are done, which is taking kids, right?
And that would explain why
why
Finn is so asexual, because he's been indoctrinated into this.
Which would make sense because if you're stolen from your home planet as a kid and forced to fight, I mean that would. I think they could play in that more. They could kind of do like he's got PTSD sort of.
They
thing.
should have. Honestly, there's so much.
And that would have been good.
Because you know what, right? Imagine making 3 films, 2.5 hours long each, maybe average, and you've got just three main characters, surely you'd think, hang on here, I've got about 7 hours worth of material. I'm going to build these characters up and give them some character development. Oh, no, none of that happens. We don't know anything about them.
No.
Nothing happens to them. You don't,
No.
you don't care about
Actually,
them. They die, but don't die, then die, then don't die, then they die, then don't die. Poe, dies in the first one, and then, oh, no, he's back. Then Finn dies at the end of it, and then he comes
Finn
back.
nearly dies.
And it's just like,
Rose saves him.
oh, gosh, just either kill them and commit, or don't have that happen because we
just don't do the.
You
you can do it once,
Yeah.
right? That's dramatic, right? But if you consistently do it, then it's like, well, there's no threat in this universe.
yeah,
And if there's no threat, then it's not engaging.
yeah. And why do we
want
want to watch it? There's no point. Like I'm not interested.
Well, that kind of. I've got a big note here, and this is something I said when I first saw this movie, and I walked away from. I love, and they really briefly touch on it, and it's that bit where they go, "Oh, what's the planet with Baba Frick?"
Kashimi.
What's that planet? Yeah,
Oh,
and then
Kajimi,
obviously, whatever it's called, and then they run into obviously Poe's old acquaintance.
Yeah,
and then she's like, "Oh, you're doing quite well for someone who used to be a spice runner." And then, "Oh, you used to be a spice runner," and it's this whole idea that these three main characters all have a past that they'd rather forget, and a past that they're not proud of, right? So one of them's a stormtrooper, one of them's a spice runner, so a criminal, and one of them is related to the most powerful Sith to ever have lived, right?
somehow.
And the whole thing could have been that you're not tied to your past. It could have been this beautiful thing of that you can move forward. You are not the product. Well, you are a product of your past, but you don't have to have it be who you are. Right? So obviously Finn stops being a stormtrooper and, as we find out, inspires other stormtroopers to rebel, right? Poe stops being a thief and leads the Rebel Alliance, right?
Yeah.
That's not their name, is it? What are they called? Resistance.
Yeah, Resistance.
He leads the Resistance, right? And then Rey finds out she's a Palpatine and goes, well, that means nothing to me, so I reject it. And I'm this person. Yeah. I'm not letting the fact that I'm from this define me now. And it could have been this whole thing because they all do it. Even Kylo Ren.
I'm Rey.
And he is doing it. He's like, "Oh, I'm a Skywalker. Big things are expected of me." And it's like, no, it's not. Because there's even a bit with when Luke's talking to Rey, where Leia and Luke knew she was a Palpatine. Yeah. But they were like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they didn't care at all, and they didn't mention
it. We
it.
didn't care. We loved you, and that's beautiful.
But also the reason they didn't mention it in the
home.
past two films because they didn't write that in. That wasn't there in the script.
They didn't know.
They literally didn't know.
I mean, but it could have been this really beautiful thing of like, and then that would have been a really good thing for Palpatine. It's like,
you know what, and what you're saying there as well would have made the end scene make more sense and matter more when she says, "I'm Rey Skywalker," but because of none of that happened, we don't care. And it's just disappointing.
Exactly.
It's very, very disappointing.
They briefly touched on it. I was like, that could have been a theme. Because there's no kind of theme in this. It's the theme's that it's the end.
Yeah. And
it's just...
You know how the end of Harry Potter, there's probably people who disagree with me and think it's not very good, but the Deathly Hallows, when they separated in two parts, that would have been great.
So good, man.
Because imagine all of this story stuff and storytelling could have been told like it was in the first Deathly Hallows. And then the epic battle and stuff could have happened for an entire film at the end. Whereas what they've done is they've put it in one film, shortened everything, and explained nothing. And there's no character development. But you've just ruined all of the... Oh, gosh, there's so much to talk about. And it really aggravates me how much...
They haven't ruined it. They just didn't really think... They clearly did think about it. I mean, that's their job. But they didn't tie it up.
No, they didn't.
In a way that kind of... thematically,
it wasn't satisfying
and emotionally makes sense, right? And if there's no emotion behind it, it's just spectacle, which it is, right? I mean, and that is kind of the reason why you watch a Star Wars movie. Is the spectacle,
and they weren't going
to
please everyone.
I mean, it's a movie about space wizards and light
it's
swords,
a space
right?
opera.
It's inherently dumb, right? It's kind of inherently dumb. But the problem with it, you kind of when you go into these movies, you have to suspend disbelief, right? You have to believe that this is something that could happen.
Well, of course.
We know it's nonsense. We're all aware. It's space wizards and flying around. Yeah. It's silly, right? But if it doesn't even make sense in its own universe...
No, that's the thing.
Because every Star Wars movie has a massive plot hole. Every single one. They've all got really...
Oh, yeah. When I say the thing about plot hole, it doesn't mean that the other films aren't full of them. It's just this one, for some reason, is consistent with its plot holes, basically.
It's inconsistent with itself. Yeah. Because as long as you're consistent with yourself, you've built a world. But if you're breaking the world on its own, then what are you doing? You can break the rules of the real world. That doesn't matter. But if you do it in your own world, then the world breaks.
Like, answer me this: when you watched it again with me, what were did you forget a lot about it? Like for me, I forgot loads.
So
and for
much.
me, when I forget major points like that, that is a bad sign of a film that I
yeah,
have
aren't those major points meant to be quite hard hitting?
Yeah.
Aren't they meant to be iconic and change how we view? But it's no, it's just one thing after another. Oh, she's this, he did that.
And I saw it a few times as well, so it's not like I only saw it once. I've done that with all.
We
Star
have
Wars
just
films.
watched it, and I guarantee you will say something to me that I forgot happened.
Of course, I mean I forgot the bloody Ewoks were in it. That's not a major point, but like
God,
there's
again.
loads of points where
But,
I forgot. I forgot that. Oh, wait a minute. There's one thing. There's 16 hours. Why does Emperor Palpatine give them 16 hours? It's like an episode of 24, but halved. And it's just like, what?
See, I missed that line.
Yeah,
I
he was
completely
just like,
missed it.
Paul was just like, oh, we've got, I think Dominic Monaghan says it. He was just like, oh, we've got 16 hours, by the way. Palpatine's literally give us a time frame to do this all in.
Time doesn't matter. You just say, we're running out of time. That's all you need to say.
Why do we need to be so specific? Oh, he's giving us 16 hours and like 2 minutes. Like, all right, great.
By the way, to think all those events happen in 16 hours is fucking bananas.
Yes, and
that's crazy.
You're cramming 16 hours worth of content into a 2 hour 20-minute film, which has already been 20 minutes in because you've had the intro. So it's just like, what are you doing? And obviously you've got the credits as well, which take up like 15-20 minutes. So it's garbage.
I've got one here about like world breaking, right?
Yep.
And it's talking about, so the Star Destroyers were up in the air and they're really struggling to fight them and destroy them until the enormous amount of ships arrive, right? I do not. That's so many ships. It's unbelievable. That's just stupid, isn't it?
You mean the Resistance? Sorry, do you mean the Star Destroyers or do you mean the Resistance ships?
Both actually. So when you first see all the Star Destroyers, it's ridiculous. It's just obscene. Why? It doesn't. Oh, anyway, and then when the Resistance arrives, and it's thousands of these ships.
You know, if they did that in the original films, they would make it matter. There would not be as nearly many ships, but also they'd do something.
Yeah.
Whereas you see these,
Isn't
and
the
there's
kind
no
of the
danger,
point of the
there's no threat, because they just just all survive.
The point of the Rebel Alliance is that they're always on the back foot.
Yeah.
There's no battle they go in where they're going to win.
And it's just like it's so badly done.
But there's this whole bit where it's like before those other ships arrive, the Star Destroyers are really difficult to blow up.
Yeah.
Right? And then all these other, they can't blow them up. They're being killed, right? And then all these other ships blow up. Then all of a sudden they're really easy to destroy. I mean, there's literally a shot of a Y-wing going up and just destroying a cannon on its own.
Yeah.
So up until that point, a single ship couldn't destroy a cannon. But now that other people are here, a single ship can. Like, it just... Why was it difficult? If you can just destroy the ships now, then why would you bother taking over the command ship?
Yeah, it makes absolutely zero sense. Like,
if a single Y-wing can disable... Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that doesn't matter. We're just being finicky.
Well, no, how about the bit when Emperor Palpatine shoots the lightning up? To be fair, that bit is mint. The music stops, the sound effects are awesome. But how long? Why is it so slow for all the ships to fall down? Because it's given Rey so much time to wake up and then do a stupid line where she says, "I'm all the Jedi." And then she walks slowly towards him and does like a stupid... That's a terrible...
I think you should have a bit of pace.
It's a really bad death as well. You built up this character for 6 films and he's the biggest villain out of the whole thing.
By the way, he's just thrown Kylo Ren off the side.
But for some reason...
And then he fires up this lightning.
Yeah, and he hits a lightsaber.
In a way that's definitely... He's not dead,
Yeah.
right? But then it takes him no effort at all to fire this massive bolt of light. Like, he's laughing while he's doing it.
And we
like,
know...
It requires no effort.
We know he survives it.
So why does he need to absorb them? Why does he need to take their life force if he can already do that?
But,
like, it's so...
But also, he survives lightning get blown in his face, because that's why he looks like a ball sack, because in Revenge of the Sith, he does that when Mace Windu's got his lightsaber out, and he blasts lightning in the lightsaber, and it goes into his face, and it's just like... If you can survive that, why can't you survive it now for some reason? Like, Rey's not doing anything with a lightsaber. She's just holding it. So it makes no sense why he dies. And...
Yeah, go on.
No, it's ridiculous. But that whole scene is ridiculous. Like, it's so stupid that they do that massive introduction of his power. Like, you're thinking, fuck, he's got this lightning, and it's just... The shot where it hits all the ships is really impressive. And then nothing happens because all the ships fall down. But they're not falling down. Nothing dies. Nothing blows up. It's just there's no gravity to it. Literally no gravity because they're just staying there in midair. So there's no urgency for it to wake up. And you're just like, what am I watching here?
People and enemies can't be stopped until they can.
Yeah.
It's weird. So they couldn't stop Palpatine before until they could.
Yeah.
For some reason. There's no reason. He even said, "Kill me." and they kill him, and then it's like, well, why didn't you just kill him?
And
Why didn't you just
wait
kill
a
him in
minute.
the first place?
Am I being an idiot here? Doesn't he say kill
Yes,
me?
we're two grown men talking about Star Wars. We're already.
No, but wait. Doesn't he? He says kill me, and then you'll become the Sith, and you'll become me.
Yeah.
But
yes.
then doesn't she
Yes.
kill him anyway? And what happens?
Yeah, they just kill him. Yeah, nothing. He just dies.
How
So why did she just do that before the whole lightning?
did they explain that?
before-
Or no? I've just realised that happens. Am I missing something here?
she didn't have all the Jedi with her before, did she? She didn't get knocked down to then get back up.
Oh gosh, it's such a stupid
That's it.
film. Do you want to talk about the Force
Did you
Ghost?
recognise any of the voices?
Oh yeah,
I
sorry.
do.
Before you mentioned the Force Ghost, sorry, yeah,
I
the
do.
voices, yes. So obviously Anakin's in there, so you can hear Hayden Christensen. They've superimposed Rey's.
I was going to say, who do you recognise? Who do you recognise?
Alec Guinness, Hayden Christensen, Samuel L. Jackson, Hugh McGregor, Frank Oz.
Yep.
You can hear it's either
Who's Frank Oz?
Yoda, and you can hear it's either it's the biggest character.
Edit that
You
out.
can either hear, I think it's either Carrie Fisher or Natalie Portman, because there's a female voice in there, and I don't know who it is.
Definitely hear Qui-Gon.
Oh yeah, Qui-Gon's in there as well. But there's a female, and I can't
And
work out
Luke.
who the female is. Sorry, Luke obviously as well. And it's probably Leia.
Yeah, who's the female?
It's obviously one of them's Leia, but I'm hearing someone else, and I'm thinking it's either Padme or I don't know.
That doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
why would she? Because she's not a force sensitive woman. Well, she might have been. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But what about you? Is there any more that I'm not getting there?
No. To be honest, I only picked out 4.
Imagine if they put someone like
I
Plo
picked
Koon
out-
in there, or someone like really obscure.
Well, that's what I thought they'd done. I thought they'd put in like loads of these extra like Jedi.
They should have. They should have had like
Who would also
Ahsoka
die.
and Kano and people like that.
Oh.
That would have been really cool.
And that's how you do an Easter egg. It's there for people who will recognize it, but then you
Don't make it
doesn't-
obvious. Just put it in there so
Yeah,
people can.
exactly,
That's why people watch
exactly.
things again, because you've hidden all this stuff in it and you want to explore it. But when I've seen that 3 times now, and there's nothing. There's no hidden bits in there for me to find out. It's all obvious.
Yeah.
Everything's explained so badly. It's just awful.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Force Ghost, because you had something funny to say about that.
No, I didn't. But other than
Well, what you said to me was you said that they exist when the story needs them to exist.
yeah,
And it's just like,
yeah,
you're
pretty
so
much.
right, because there's no reason for Luke to really come back in that scene. And then he lifts up the fucking X-Wing. And if he can do that, why can't he do other stuff? Why can't he...
Right.
It's so stupid.
So why is he dead?
Yeah, why is he dead?
Why is it?
If he's
going
going to bring him back.
And also, I get it. Like it's a callback to
but...
Empire when he lifts the
Yeah, but-
X-wing out, but then it doesn't really make sense.
But did he lift the X-Wing? I don't think he did.
no, Yoda does
Yeah, but
it.
he was alive at that point. It wasn't a Force Ghost that did it. None of the Force Ghosts have ever been able to do
you
anything
mean
physical. Like, Obi-Wan never does anything physical. All he does
No.
is says, there is another. Or Yoda says that. And they're just like, oh, well, yeah, because Leia is a Jedi. And they say that in Return of the Jedi. And it's just like, yeah, all they do is talk, but they don't lift lightsabers and lift...
But this precedent was set in The Last Jedi when Yoda
it strikes lightning
does
down.
the lightning.
And you're just like, well,
You're like,
if you can do that, why don't
what?
you go and do that on Snoke or do that on
Yeah.
Kylo? It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
And
So, and what does death mean
Yeah,
then? If you
nothing.
can just anyway,
And like this...
this has been talked to death. This point has been talked to death specifically. I'm
Right,
sure.
well, the next point
But
in
we're
then,
gonna-
let's move on from that because we've exhausted that one. This one for me is a really big point for me. They really annoyed me in the film. It's when Kylo Ren comes down on the ship and that sand planet, which is not Tatooine, it's not the Jakar, it's not the other one. It's just some other sand planet. South
Tatooine
Shields.
2. Tatooine.
Yeah, Tatooine 2. And it's just...
Oh, I'm sick of desert planets. I'm fucking sick. Can we get off desert planets?
It's just
now?
like...
We've seen
You know
it.
that scene where she's doing the Matrix jump and it's epic? That's a really cool scene.
Oh, it's
But like,
really
why didn't
cool.
he shoot her?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, he doesn't shoot her, and he decides to fly into her, even though he knows her lightsaber's up, and she's definitely going to slice the wing off. And he somehow survives that crash.
How is he going to hit her with
Don't
it?
know.
How is he going to hit it?
And he's got a
Anyway.
seatbelt made out of titanium because he survives. Makes no sense. Anyway, the bit that I have a problem with that scene is after they fake kill Chewie, they do that whole thing. They've just demonstrated that they can stop ships with the Force. But then she just says, all right, by the way, I'm going to go now to another planet. And they just cut. And she just obviously somehow escapes, even though they're only like 20 meters away from each other. And he just lets her go. Like, how is that possible? How did he not just go, actually, no, Ray, I've just caught you. I've flown like halfway around the world to come and meet you here to catch you. I'm just gonna let you go
Well,
now.
remember, the Emperor sent him out to kill him, except that was never the Emperor's plan, but he still sent him out to kill her,
and
didn't
he doesn't kill her, and he lets her go, and
No.
it doesn't explain how she got out of that position. It just cuts. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, why? Oh gosh, it's so irritating. How did Kylo Ren get off that rainy planet? How did he get to Exegol? Like,
How did he get off the desert planet?
yeah. Oh yeah, because his ship is blown up, and
Because his ship...
yeah, I just
why-
none
that's
of
why
it
he's
makes
walking.
sense. It's just so poorly done. Like, I think when I watched it, I was watching with beer goggles. The first time, the whole spectacle was amazing. I really enjoyed it. But then the second time I watched it, I really saw the flaws that were in it. And I think the only reason I enjoyed it so much when I first time watched it, because I was in the cinema and I'd watched the 3 films in succession, and I was really tired, and I just had a long day at work, and I was just like, this is amazing. I'm having a coffee. I'm watching Star Wars with my brother.
You had to be delirious to enjoy this movie.
I was.
Is that what
Yeah, I
you're
had
saying?
like 2 coffees, and I was
Right,
just like,
cool.
"Oh, I'm so excited to watch Star Wars!" Yeah. To be honest, when I watched Last Jedi,
But
I missed most of it because I went for a piss.
I mean, we said this before. They could keep putting out bad movies. I will always go see them because it's a Star Wars movie. So we're complaining, but we don't really care that much because I will still watch this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we just did.
Yeah, gosh, I don't think I'll ever watch it again unless my girlfriend wants to watch it, and that's the only reason I would ever watch it again. Because when I watch the Star Wars, I usually watch them yearly. I don't know about other people, but every year I watch all the Star Wars films in succession. But I'm only going to be watching Phantom Menace. Sorry, the first 3, Rogue One, and then the next 3, and that's it. I'm not going to count Solo or the trilogy, the newest sequels again, because I'm done. I'm exhausted them. I can't watch Force Awakens ever again. I can't watch Last Jedi again. It's painful.
I've really pulled back on Star Wars.
Yeah.
That being said,
I'll watch the
I haven't, have I?
No, no, we haven't,
Like,
because
I
we've
just
just
don't
made an
watch the
entire
movies.
episode podcast about it, and we've just watched the film. But you know what I mean? It's just
And I've been playing the game, and we're talking about The Mandalorian, and we're talking about the animated Clone Wars. Like, you don't really pull back. I mean, this feels pulled back.
it
for
feels
me,
pulled back because I can't.
away from the Skywalker
Yeah,
trilogy.
and
Right, from the Skywalker saga.
yeah, and I
sorry.
love Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, and I love Mandalorian. I love Clone Wars. All this kind of stuff. It's great to see the stuff getting expanded. George Lucas's idea, but for me, these sequels are trash, and I don't count them as like a canon story. For me, it ends with Return of the Jedi, and that's it. But don't get me wrong, like we've rinsed this film to bits. There are some good points about it. Like there are some actually.
Well,
Really,
it's easier to do that. It's more fun.
of course it is. But like, don't get us wrong.
I'll watch it at Christmas. You know what I mean?
There's just some good points about it. There's some really epic
Yeah.
shots, some really good scenes. The music's fantastic, as I said before, and there are some like decent scenes in it. Like the set design's pretty cool. I mean, the Kojimi's
course,
awesome.
like, that's
a cool
always
scene.
good.
There's some of the space battles, some of the lightsaber battles are really cool. That's about it. That's about it.
Yeah.
The rest of it's not.
Okay, I've got 2 more notes
Yeah,
for
go
you,
for it.
and I think you'll
Go
like
for
it. Right? First one.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, go for it.
Rey is only interested in Ben Solo because he's swole.
What does swole mean?
Like he's ripped. He's huge.
We know.
Like in
yeah.
the last. Remember that
Can you
bit where
please
he's
put a
like,
towel
so-
on?
Yeah, she's only interested in it. She was embarrassed because she was really horny.
Yeah, you know what?
right?
Yeah.
That's it. Rey doesn't kill him. She feels bad. It's like, oh, he's swole.
Well, you know, because she exposes his bare stomach, doesn't she? When she stabbed him, she's like, "Oh, look
Yeah.
at those abs! I'm gonna save you.
Oh,
Bring.
hello.
No,
Yeah.
I want that 6-pack.
exactly.
Yeah,
So we're the idiots,
Yeah.
right? Secondly, this is kind of a more serious
Mm-hmm.
point, and it's just again, it's this thing of they're harkening back to the original trilogy. They're making it a big cyclical thing. People are using her own lightsaber is really cool.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. The end of the film, her lightsaber's
Why didn't she just start with that lightsaber?
I think what they were trying to do.
Why did she not just start with it?
What they were trying to do is that's her becoming Skywalker. So she's thrown away her old
That
lightsaber.
doesn't make sense.
I know it makes no sense, but they would like the reason she has a yellow lightsaber. The colors do mean stuff as well. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I think that means she's a Jedi Sentinel. Can't remember. It's been a while since I've
No,
read
because
this stuff.
doesn't it? The Kyber crystal picks you, and the color then is dictated by that Kyber
Yes,
crystal.
but obviously there is a sort of a meaning and a significance between the colors. But the
Is there?
idea, and certain people have different colors. Obviously,
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson's was purple because he wanted purple. Like that, that's different. But like the yellow thing,
it matters until it
it
doesn't.
matters
right?
until it doesn't. Just kind of like the Force Ghosts. But
Right, cool.
the reason that they had her lightsaber right at the end of the film, even though it was a badass lightsaber and it looks different, it's yellow and it's cool. they literally only had it in because they were like, well, she's not a Palpatine anymore, and we're going to make another film with her in it. So we're going to she's a Skywalker now, because that's what that old woman who by the way, who's she? Who's this old woman? And why would she be inspecting?
Who are
How
you?
does she know that no one's been to that? Is she a stalker? Does she live there?
She lives there. She lives
Like, why?
She lives under the sand.
Yeah. Does she live in the bit where she put the lightsabers? And also, why is she burying the lightsabers? Give one to Finn. Give one to.
Also, how did she sneak up on Rey? There's no one around.
know.
It's a flat
And
desert.
she's a Jedi.
There's no buildings. There's nothing obstructing.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just like,
It's so
it's so
funny.
stupid. And then the whole scene of like a badly superimposed Carrie Fisher with Luke Skywalker. It's just like, what are you doing? And then that lightsaber is totally underused. But their idea was to make it look like she's a different person now, and she's got all that passed away from her, and this is a new Rey. But it's just, don't do that. Do that. Start the film.
New Ray, like Blu-ray, but new, the new Blu-ray.
New Blu-ray. Speaking of which, there is
Comes out.
there's a new Blu-ray of Star Wars.
It's
coming
now out,
soon.
yeah.
It's just like, what?
The new Blu-ray.
I hope they get rid of the Darth Vader, no, and Return of the Jedi. That's such a bad cut. I have to watch the VHS of
it's
Star Wars
so
Return of the Jedi
good.
when I watch it now, because that
I
ruined it for
need
me.
to watch that.
Totally ruined it.
Do you want to hear something really upsetting talking about lightsabers?
100%.
The original concept for Rey, this is in Duel of the Fates again. We're going to talk about it because we didn't get it. We're going to say it's a better movie, even though we didn't see it. Her original design was a blue double-edged lightsaber
Oh gosh, that's mint.
made from Luke's 2 lightsabers and her staff.
Oh my goodness, that's badass.
Now, doesn't that make sense? Wouldn't that? Oh, gee, doesn't that make loads
Why
of sense?
didn't they do that?
I don't know.
Oh, you know why? Because that's a good idea.
Because that would be interesting.
Damn it, that would have been
And Disney
so
don't
cool.
want it interesting. Could you imagine that?
Damn it.
The concept art looks great. And then there's concept art where she's holding it and then she's wearing like the black uniform like Luke's wearing in Return of the
Gosh,
Jedi.
that would have been awesome.
I know. And there's this whole opening bit where she saves Poe, Finn, and Rose.
Damn.
And she's in disguise as a Tusken Raider. It's really cool.
What were they thinking with J.J. Abrams' script, man? Why did they think that was a
don't
good
know.
idea?
Because they clearly have a motive. They don't want to be risky. Disney are not.
They should be.
Well, I'm gonna say this, but it's also wrong. Disney are not. They don't want to take
They should
risks.
have done.
That being said, they have way more misses than they do
Yeah,
hits.
100%. I totally agree with that.
If you want to laugh, you should go through everything there is on Disney Plus. Not like all the highlights. So like on Netflix, you can get every show in order, right? Like in alphabetical. Just go have a read through the titles on Disney Plus, right? Some of them, even remember the movie Bolt?
No.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it was an animated movie, right? So this was when Pixar is under Disney. John Travolta voices the dog, right? That's a massive name, and it flopped.
Oh gosh.
It flopped. They flop when Disney flop. They really flop.
Gosh.
They flop really, really hard. So they don't want to take risks, especially because they own 60% of the entertainment industry.
Yeah, they own a lot, man.
And I think they can afford to play it safe because if Star Wars, they could keep putting out this sort of stuff, and we will forever go see it.
Well, they could afford it
and
as
then
well.
Just complain
They're
about
a
it.
multi-billion-dollar industry.
But they'll get the money back. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It doesn't matter. They always get the money
If
back.
anything, they owe it to fans to not play it safe and take some risks on it. Because surely we'd like
No,
that
they
better.
don't. But that's the thing. They don't owe us anything.
I mean, they do and they don't.
They're going to do what they're going to do.
They owe people who watched A New Hope on day one at the cinema. That's the people they owe. Because imagine waiting this long. I've heard some anecdotal stories of people who were like so excited and they've waited this long for this entire saga to be whatever it's called, a saga, I guess, to be wrapped up, and they were so disappointed. And they were there since day one, and it's the most debilitating feeling, especially when they killed Luke in Last Jedi, and they're like, I can't believe they've treated this iconic character in such a poor fashion, made him a hermit.
Not just like the center of the saga.
And it's just like, you've ruined it. I don't know if we've got time, but what I'd love to talk about would be talking about what would your idea be for a trilogy, or at least this film? Like, what would your story be? How would you plan it out in a sort of a really short, descriptive way?
I said this to you earlier. I would really love a Grey Jedi story.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Right? Because they touch on this in The Last Jedi, and they touch on it a bit in here, where the idea that there's no balance in the Force if one side, so like in the prequels, it was overwhelming amount of Jedi and no Sith, right? So there's no balance in the Force. And then there's an overwhelming amount of Sith and no Jedi, right? There's no balance. The balance in the Force needs them both to exist. And obviously, to uphold that, you need grey Jedi. So grey Jedis practice both the light and dark sides of the Force and don't think you take a side, that the Force isn't ours to control, right? I would love a saga about that.
I would love that too, man. That'd be awesome.
That would be really cool. And just loads of extended stuff. I think as well, go 100 years in the future or go 100 years in the past.
Yeah.
Let's get away from this. Let's just not start again, but there's so many good things like Thrawn, right? I'd love to see Thrawn. But we can't do that now because it doesn't really matter because it's set straight after Return of the Jedi. And we've already got stuff that exists in that continuity now.
It's
But yeah, I think that's what I would say. And more extended stuff, please. Like more stuff like Rogue One.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Not like Rogue One, not like it. Like don't make that movie again.
The good thing about Rogue One as well, they're not based on a character that's already existing. Like they've got callbacks. They had Princess Leia. Yeah, damn, that was amazing. But these characters we haven't seen before, and that's why Han Solo flopped because it's a character. We've said this before, but it's like a character who's so iconic, and you've got an actor. You said a Shakespearean actor and with an improvised feel who just doesn't do it, and he doesn't pull it off because Harrison Ford in that film is so iconic, and he looks nothing like him, and he plays nothing like him. And if you take away the Han Solo name and you make it a film about that period, sure, that would have been brilliant. Donald Glover pulls off Lando so well, and he's not in it that much that you don't notice it that much. But because you got the titular character is based on someone who looks nothing like him. It was poorly done. But you're right, if they expand the universe by making new characters up and then having callbacks like what Mandalorian does and Rogue One does and blah, 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 it would have been epic. It would be really, really cool. Yeah. And obviously the expanded stuff, which is totally brand new, that would be amazing as well.
Before I ask you what you want, just God, for the love of God, please don't give us a Yoda origin. I know loads of people ask for it. We do not need that.
We don't know, do we? We really don't.
Could you imagine what that would be?
I don't think we need it. I think the good thing about the character is that he hasn't been delved into that much, and he's mysterious. No one knows what the species is called.
Mystery is good.
In some ways, not in story and plot points. In characters, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want mystery
like
in
we've
something...
mentioned in Rise of Skywalker. Why is the Emperor back? Who cares?
You want some things explained, but you need to have some things that are left to imagination and mysteries because it keeps you wanting more, doesn't it? It's like you don't want to blow your load in one go. You want to have it spread out like Lurpak.
Do you want to rephrase that?
No, I'm sticking by that.
Joey, do you like it when you don't blow your load? Is that what you're saying?
You know, you've got to last a bit longer before you give them the money shot. If you know what I mean. Like you don't want to.
No, please go into more detail, please. Right, what would you want to see in Star Wars?
Right. So for me,
what would you say?
I haven't read a lot of the books, and I know there's a lot of books in Expanded Universe. But for me, what really interests me was the character Mara Jade, and Mara Jade is Luke's wife. And what I would have loved to see, so this is my idea. This is a very, very short idea of what would happen. Return of the Jedi ends, and obviously Battlefront 2, they sorted the transition really, really well. So what happens is the Emperor dies, the Stormtroopers are then just sort of fighting, and then they're just like, oh, hang on, the Death Star's just blown up. And they're just like, well, what do we do now? So a couple of them keep going through fighting and killing rebels. And then after like killing a couple of hundred rebels, they're just kind of like, what are we doing? Like, are we the bad guys? And they're not getting any commands from anybody because Emperor's dead and Darth Vader's dead. And they're just like, what are we doing? So a couple of them start rebelling against the Stormtroopers and become rebels. And then they're all just like, oh, crap. And obviously Emperor has a contingency plan. He has a little droid and it's got some voice messages, video messages with him embodying this droid. And he's given commands because he obviously had a contingency plan if he died. But he can only go so far. And that's a really cool idea for me. So you've got these Stormtroopers and now don't know what they're doing because they've got no one commanding them. And you've got this whole outlaw land where people are just like, well, what are we doing? Like, who's ruling now? The Republic are now winning. So the Republic, obviously, they're still a government and they're still quite evil in a way. They're not going to be perfect. So you've got this world where now everyone's being run by the Republic, but they're still a government, so people aren't really happy with everything, because when are people going to be happy? People are flawed. But so you've got this new universe and this whole new planet and world of people who are being run by the Republic. There's no Sith left, and people are being trained because Luke's still alive. And in my perfect ideal world, this follows from that, because Battlefront 2 set that up brilliantly, and you've got all these stormtroopers, and it's brilliant. It's really, really cool. But for me, what would be great if they followed Luke and Leia's story. So Leia and Luke, they started running a temple together and started training Jedi. And I like the idea that in Force Awakens in Last Jedi, that Luke's students, maybe one of them betrayed him. That's cool. That would have been really, really nice. But I would have delved really, really deep into that. And I would have built up loads on Luke, shown what Luke did, like doing some flashbacks and showing how badass he was and how they got to this point. I wouldn't have made him a hermit, because it makes no sense in his character. He's not like that at all. He's this really, really heroic, go get him kind of attitude, and it makes no sense for him to be some drunk hermit. Like, he should have really been a badass. I don't think he should have survived, because you can't tell a story like this and keep him as the main character for 3 films. You've got to move on, so you've got to have new blood in. So I don't think he should have been the main character for all of it. But for the first film, I think he should have been training these Jedi. Him and Leia are badass. His students are awesome. Everything's looking great. And then one of them becomes a bit of a dick. Maybe the Emperor Palpatine clone thing, because that was an idea in the books as well, that Emperor Palpatine's still alive because of these clones.
That was a big running one. That was a really, really good, and it was really popular.
And maybe something like that would have been cool, because you need a villain. You can't just have everyone happy, because what's the point of watching that? And I would have loved a new villain, or have Emperor Palpatine come back. Sure, whatever. But the main thing for me would have been Luke being a badass Jedi, and Leia being a badass Jedi, because they make a point of that in Return of the Jedi, of her being a Jedi. And she's got the Force. I mean, you see it. You see the Mary Poppins thing in Last Jedi, but they don't play into it. And her being a badass Jedi would be cool, like killing off all the remaining Sith cultists and stuff. You know how, like, in Revenge of the Sith, they're killing all the Jedi, but the reverse would have been cool. So you're seeing them fight all the stormtroopers and stuff.
That would have been cool.
And you're seeing all these rebels and Jedi fighting back. It would have been absolutely awesome. And then you grow attached to them. And then you're like, oh, these guys are awesome, and you're thinking this is mint. And then obviously something comes along, fucks everything up for them. A lot of them get killed. Maybe Luke gets killed, Leia gets killed, and these new blood, these new Jedi are fighting. And maybe Kylo Ren exists. That's a cool concept. He's a cool character, and the fact that he rebelled and he killed loads of Jedi, mint. I love that idea. And then develop that more, and then take it from there. I would have loved that kind of setup, but what they did originally, the 3 films are just so disconnected from each other. Nothing happened. I wouldn't have brought Palpatine back without a story. Like, I would have made sure that you knew that he was a clone, and he wasn't right.
But you kind of need a reason for it. Like, you can't. I mean, explain why he's back, but why is he back? Is there a reason?
No, I think personally, honestly, I would have preferred if they brought Darth Plagueis back, or if they resurrected Mark of Ragnos.
Well, that's what everyone was thinking. Oh, Snoke, he's Plagueis, isn't he? Which would have been good. I think maybe that's what we could do. Maybe that's what they could do, like a Plagueis.
Yeah, and that would have been awesome. That made sense. And you're showing this new character, and it would have been great. Bring resurrect Mark of Ragnos from the old lore, from an ancient Sith who's on Korriban, which is Sith planets. That would have been badass. That would have been really, really cool. And then you've got this urgency to fight for this new mysterious villain, and it would have been awesome. That would have been really, really cool. He's trying to bring back the Sith Order, because all the Sith are extinct now. You know, you need balance, and the whole thing of Star Wars, you need the good and the light. The good and the bad, and there's no bad at the moment. So they resurrect this Jedi guy who's been a dick and become a Sith, is bringing back Sith now, resurrecting them. And now there's the good and light now, and they're fighting against each other. And now it feels like there's sort of some urgency. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just rambling like a madman, but that's, for me, that would have been really cool. That would have been a really cool story. You see Luke and Leia, you see Han Solo and everything. Like, seeing Han Solo being like a smuggler and being a badass, that would have been really cool. Explaining all that kind of stuff then, and getting past it, because you need to. You can't just rely on old characters, but you should have shown it, and then introduce some new characters in a really good way. I just don't think they did it in a very good way. I'm not saying my idea is great. That's just literally me making up on the spot. But, like, I would have just appreciated something completely different. Like, the story they gave us was poor.
Yeah, cyclical, kind of treading old ground, and I know that's what Star Wars is known for, but I think maybe just unnecessary.
Yeah, and some points were great, but
okay. Well, it's all unnecessary because it's a space opera,
of
right?
course.
It's silly, but I just say.
I mean, George Lucas described Star Wars as a soap opera, but with lightsabers and guns and spaceships.
Yeah, but there needs to be more emphasis on the
Yeah,
opera.
and he said that the main thing
know
that
what I
made Star
mean?
Wars so great was because you've got these characters and it's like watching a soap because they're so intertwined with each other and there's love stories, cheating, all this kind of stuff. And there's none of that in the new
yeah,
film.
well, they
and
won't
it's
they?
just like,
and You're
yeah,
my
there's no
fault,
reason
yeah.
to watch it. And that's why what made those Star Wars films so great. And you've got it obviously bubble wrapped in this futuristic space war thing going on. And that's what made it so good.
Yeah, but the space stuff is secondary. That's the main thing. The space stuff is
Yeah.
secondary.
And I think maybe making what I would have liked as well, I wouldn't have liked to have this mystery behind the character is like Luke and Mara Jade's daughter or son, whatever. Mara Jade was a cool character. She's a person who he's trained, and then they end up having a relationship. They had a kid, and the kid becomes the good Jedi, and that's the new character for the films. And you know who the parents are, but then Kylo Ren's obviously the dick one, who's Han Solo and Leia's kid, and that would have been really cool for them to fight against each other because it's like brother and sort of brother and sister in a way, like half brother, half sister.
Yeah, it's like, again, it's like comic movies. Draw from the material that already exists. Don't adapt.
Because at the end of the day, we're following the
Draw from the
Skywalker
bits you
saga,
like.
so you need to carry that on, and we didn't get that because you've got Ben Solo, who's not a Skywalker, and Rey Palpatine. There's no Skywalker, and it just feels like, who's the Rise of Skywalker? You're not really a Skywalker. You're just some woman who is actually Palpatine's granddaughter. He had sex. I can't.
Oh, I don't know.
Who's?
Do they have sex in that universe? Do they?
I don't think so. No. Well, actually, no. Anakin bucks the hell out
definitely
of Padme, doesn't he?
Well, we don't see that.
Well, we don't, but she gets
Yet.
pregnant. Also, who the hell is Anakin's dad? I think it's Palpatine. You know, I think he booked.
What? You know this? It's in Phantom Menace. What are you talking about?
He doesn't have a dad. He's a.
It's midichlorians.
It's all right. Okay, let's stop.
You know, there's things that
That are mentioned for one film and then never mentioned ever
movie.
again.
You know what? I don't hate that
I like
idea.
it.
I kind of enjoy
explains the Force
I
and
think
makes it feel more realistic. It gives it a bit of a.
Being conceived by the Force is like, okay,
and it
we
makes
get
the Force sensitive
Jesus,
thing make
we get
sense
it.
because
But-
then everyone can possess it.
Yeah.
I like I just don't like the way it was sort of done.
Which then later on would drive the idea that we don't belong to the Force, like we don't control it. It's a thing that exists.
And that would be really cool.
Yeah, but no.
But like, maybe I would love to. What I'd like to do is I'd like to develop an idea of what I would have liked for those three films, and then maybe put it into some kind of form where I could say it out loud. Because that would.
I don't even think it needs. I just think you need to draw from what's, like I've said, just to draw from what's
and use
already,
what you've already got, and then
like
because
Thrawn,
I'm not a screenwriter or whatever. I don't write films, but if I did, I would have done that, and I would have used what people have done before, but then made it my own. And
You don't like films?
what?
You don't like films?
No, I said
Is that
I'm
what
not a
you said?
filmmaker. Like I don't make films. Sorry, I said I don't make films,
okay.
but like even if I don't make films, I know.
Joey, I don't know if you know this, but we're recording a podcast about films.
Oh crap! I don't like them, mate.
It's a bad time to.
I don't like podcasts or
Hate
films
movies.
or people called Dave. So
Oh well, that last one I can definitely get behind.
Dave's
To be
a
fair,
dicks.
tell you who's my number one critic. It's me. I'm my number one critic.
Aha! Okay, here's a question: who's your favorite
Gotcha.
character
Yep.
and worst character in Rise of Skywalker?
Oh, good lord.
It is hard.
BB-8 is definitely the best.
Whoa, it's your favorite. Wow, I not would
Yeah.
have thought that. Why?
Yeah,
Why is he favorite?
because I think I really liked him from the first one.
He's quite
because
funny.
it's really hard to do a droid where you're like, oh, he's neither R2 nor is he C-3PO.
They did a really good
And
job, didn't they?
And he's a weird in between. Yeah, he definitely has his own
and the
thing,
fact that he's like a
which I
round,
really
rolling ball,
genuinely
yeah,
appreciate.
They did a really good job of that.
Yeah, and in the first one, he actually is helpful.
Yeah, you're right. Even though
Least favorite?
my favorite.
Yeah, who's your favorite?
Oh gosh, honestly, it's just hard to say because I don't think he's very good.
Any of them?
Kylo Ren's probably my favorite character, but I don't
Yeah,
think he's
yeah.
developed at all, and he's not good. But he's what the best we've got. So I think because the reason I like him is because he's got a good dynamic. He's got that whole light side. He's kind of like Anakin.
Well, he's tormented. I mean, that's always interesting. Isn't that why we watch these things? It's like these intense interactions, and he's got that
Yeah,
within
and
himself.
I'm sure people who watch Star Wars do connect with that as well because everyone does feel tormented.
I've realised how stupid my answer is. Thank you.
You picked a really
Thank you for
stupid
that.
answer, mate. Do you want to have a chance to say that again?
Yeah, it's Finn. That's my favorite.
I'm
character.
sorry. What? You mean robot who can't tell anybody
Actually,
what he's thinking and can't understand his own sexuality?
It's not his fault. He's a
Yeah, good
stormtrooper,
point.
wasn't he? He's
I'm sorry,
castrated.
but let's just reiterate this. I definitely think Finn and Poe should have got together. That would have been perfect.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
not
Love
because
it. Absolutely love
not for like shock value or anything like that. I just think it would have been really great. Support the
it. Well, the
yeah, the
chemistry's
chemistry's
already
already
there.
there. It made sense, and that would have been a really nice way to end that up because it would have felt it would have resolved, which the film didn't, and none of the characters did. Sorry. Anyway, you tell me why you think Finn's your favorite.
I'm 100% kidding.
Oh,
He's no
so
one's
who's your favorite
favorite.
then?
He's
Because I don't think you can have BB-8.
yeah. No, I have to
I
go.
don't think you can have BB-8 as an answer.
Then it'd be Kylo
Okay,
Ren.
cool. And what's the reason?
Yeah, it would be Kylo Ren. Well, it's the same reason. He definitely his performance as well is absolutely it's carrying that movie.
Do you not think some of the lines he
it's
says
carrying
are a
all the
bit bad?
movies? Yes,
But I know what you
I
mean.
think
He does
a lot
carry
of
it,
the
doesn't
lines
he?
that a lot of people say. Yeah, he carries it, but a lot of the lines that a lot of people say are really bad.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere.
But he has the most intense
Yeah, he
moments,
does, and that's why I like it.
which is interesting. You know, like that's the problem with the main
Yeah.
three. There's they just get on until they don't. Then they argue for like 2 seconds, and
Do
then
you
they're
think
friends
they made
again.
Poe a different character in this? Because remember Poe in the first two films, he's like a
He's
yeah,
completely
and
different.
for some reason, he's a dick in this
Yeah.
one. And they're like, oh, he's in a bad mood. And he's like, what, really? And he said, oh, when's he never? And he was like, well, when's that ever explained? He's a good guy in the first two films.
He never seemed like he was in a bad
I know.
mood the first
He's
two
this really
movies,
happy
so-
go-get-him guy. And
Yeah.
now for some reason, he's just a bit of a dick. And it's just like, what? Decide who you're going to
I
be.
know.
Don't just change halfway
I
through.
know. But again, it's that thing of like no overarching sense of
Consistency.
drive or consistency or like where the story's ultimately headed.
Okay, here's one. Who's your worst character?
Yeah. Okay.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, it's either Finn or Rose.
So why would it be Rose? I've got nothing against the actor, but I know what you mean. Her character's
I've got
pointless, isn't
nothing
it?
against it. She just doesn't. She just doesn't do
pointless.
anything. She just. It's. I don't know. Yeah, it's pointless. She's there for the ride for some
and there's
reason.
not. It's she.
Was a love interest, kinda.
Yeah, and then
not
just
really.
stops, and then has a big, huge
And then
part, and then
stops,
doesn't
and
have a
then-
part.
Yeah, well, she's not even. She's not a general. She's not a troop. She's like a
Yeah.
caretaker, right?
No,
in The
you're
Last Jedi. And she's along for the ride. And then she's kind of higher ranking in the next movie for no reason. But then
It's
they
a
don't
shame
use
because
her.
she could have been really good. She could have been a good character, but they messed her around really.
Yeah, they really do. So, but like again, it's not a personal thing. Like it's not
No,
against
no.
her. It's just that it's like it's a nothing character.
I to be honest,
Yeah,
I know you
I'd say
told me
maybe.
that you said fuck C3PO, so he's obviously there as well as your worst character. But I get you the Rose. My worst character is. Gosh, this is hard because this is a really, really hard decision to make because two
Really
of them I
hard.
hate.
Because they're all
Yeah.
pretty bad. Yeah, they're all pretty bad. That's the.
I'm going to
weird
give you two
thing.
answers. So my first one is General Hux, and second is Captain Phasma.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh man, just really.
first of all, Hux.
Don't.
Domhnall Gleeson is a great actor, in my opinion. I think he's an
he's so
amazing
good.
actor. He's
Yeah.
fantastic. He's made
So
some really
good.
good films, and he's fantastic. He's really, really good. About Time is excellent. He's a ridiculously good actor. But in this, his voice is so irritating.
I'm
He cannot act in this film. The scene where it's like the Hitler Nazi
again-
bit in Force Awakens is just like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? You just look like you're having an aneurysm.
Oh,
Like you need
yeah,
to stop.
Yeah,
You're gonna blow
It's-
a casket.
But isn't this isn't the actors? This is the
Yeah.
characters that have been written and the way
Yeah,
they've been
and he's-
directed. If it's consistently happening to all the characters, then it's not the actors.
It's like
is
he
it?
didn't audition for the role. And he just turned up and they're like, "Oh, you just be this guy." It's just like give him a different part. He would have been suited for a way better part.
Because I imagine, I don't know if this is true. I'm just going to say it. I bet he originally auditioned for
Yeah, he
Poe.
probably did. Like a good guy.
Now think about that.
yeah,
Swap
he would have
them
been
two.
great. I'm sure Oscar Isaac would have been a really good bad guy. It would have been
man.
excellent.
Yeah, because he does
Yeah,
creepy quite
he's got
well.
that weird smile.
You've seen Ex
Oh, it's
Machina,
good
man.
Yeah,
It's literally that way around where he
Spoilers.
is like.
But no, that's a good film,
Sorry.
and he's a good bad guy in that.
Sorry, really
so
good movie.
check that out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But for me, that is a reason he was cast wrong, and the character didn't fit him at all. He's a great actor, but it just didn't play off. And the bit where his redemption arc, where he becomes a good guy and then he gets shot, I just didn't care. I wanted him to die in the first film. He was pathetic, and it really irritated me. And Captain Phasma, oh gosh, right. So
she could have been
she was
awesome.
totally underutilized, made into this badass. Like before, I remember I was watching some trailers on IGN about Force Awakens coming out, and we're just like, "Who's Captain Phasma?" Ooh, and then I found out she was female, and I was like, "Oh gosh, there's this really strong female villain now, and they've made this character proper badass." And then I saw her in the film, I was just like, "What? You've got Gwendolyn Christie, this amazing actress, and she's playing this pathetic wet character who's totally underutilized."
Yeah, but she's like Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's just like a crap Boba Fett who isn't used much. Even Boba Fett,
but Boba Fett
but
isn't
he's
used much. They're exactly the
used well.
same. They're
I like
exactly the
Boba
same.
Fett because he's got this ominous. His lines are really well.
Yeah. No good to be dead.
He's just mysterious, and he's this
amazing.
cool as fuck character. He might as well have been smoking a cigarette and had sunglasses on. He's like this cool character. But then you've got Captain Phasma. She's just like, you just don't care. You instantly hate her because she's addicted.
If no one
Finn.
knew how to be cool before, Joey, they definitely know now. To be
smoke
cool.
cigarettes and have
smoke
sunglasses.
and sunglasses.
And have jazz music playing in the background.
Jazz music.
Maybe wearing a trench coat.
I think you mean Five Finger Death Punch.
No. Might as well be listening to Korn. Having a
Aren't they
wank over
really
popcorn.
cool? They look really. What do you say?
But Captain Phasma. The thing that made me hate her, you instantly hate her at the start, but in a bad way. You just think, oh, she's just some authoritarian, stupid bitch at the start because she's just pathetic, and
Yeah, but it's like a good hate. It's
it's just like.
I'm glad I don't like it. You're not
and
meant
they should have used her in a better way. It made her more badass, showing her killing some people, doing some really good stuff, because they just put her in a trash compactor, and then all of a sudden in the second film she's back, and there's this sort of spoken hate between her and Finn that should have been developed more. And then when she died, it would have been made more an impact, but I didn't care, and they really underused her. And for me, those are the two worst characters.
Fair enough. I think that's a great point to end on. We've been going for ages. When we started this, I was like, we should aim for an hour. We're
I
nearly
honestly
2
thought it
hours
was going to
in.
be 45 minutes, and then I realised how much we had to talk about.
Yeah. Good lord. Anyway, shall we wrap it up? Have you got anything else you want to say about it?
I mean, all I'm going to say is kind of, it's for me, it's not the worst film I've ever seen, because we'll be talking about these films eventually. But the Hobbit,
That's a
the Hobbit.
compliment.
We'll
That's a
talk about those
compliment
films
to that.
later.
Oh,
but it's not the worst film I've ever seen. There is some redeeming qualities, but I personally don't rate it as a very good film. And that's my sort of 2 cents. If it didn't have the Star Wars name on it or the Skywalker name, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more, but it still doesn't detract from all the plot holes and the bad story points. But don't get me wrong, the music and some of the scenes, like the fighting scenes, and some of the sets and effects were really cool, but that's about it for me. The acting was subpar, and it was not a very good film. What about you?
Yeah, I think lack of vision.
Lack of vision. Very good way to say it.
Lack of direction.
Good direction.
Lack of creativity.
100%.
Overall.
No imaginativeness.
Which is strange, because they built this from nothing. It's not really based on anything that
because
exists.
George Lucas just imagined the whole thing
before,
while he's probably having a hot pocket wanking or whatever.
Right, but that being said, like we've already said like a few times now, there's some really good source material that they could have used,
100%.
right? And they could have drawn the really good bits from that, and
They didn't.
I didn't see that, and that's kind of unfortunate.
They missed a big boat there, and they can't redo it because Carrie Fisher unfortunately died. So,
but they're not going to learn their lesson because they're Disney and they make billions of dollars.
So but this has been ridiculously fun to talk about. We've got so much to talk about because we're
It's been
massive
really
Star
good.
Wars fans.
Yeah.
I can't wait until we.
Yeah. So like
There you go.
you can't wait to. So we always do this. We're gonna have to learn how to stop
I'll say
doing
it. But what I was going to say is I can't wait to talk about the next lot of films as well, because we've got a lot to say.
So let's do. We're gonna do big trilogies.
Yeah, I think we should do the Hobbit series.
Let's do the Hobbit. We're not gonna touch Lord of the Rings because
great.
God, how
awesome!
God, so good. Hobbit.
Yeah,
Can you think of any other trilogies?
I mean, no, but I mean, there's loads, but I want to talk about Pacific Rim as well because I hate that film.
I think you mean Atlantic Rim.
Yeah, Atlantic Rim. That's a great film. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so we'll save that little surprise for the episode where we actually
and if
do
any
it.
people who listen to this who have suggestions, let us know. Because if there's something particularly that you either haven't seen or you've seen and you want to hear us rinse it, let us know, because we will. We'll watch it and we'll rinse the hell out of it. Because
we're sad people. That's all we do. We complain about movies that maybe aren't for us.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And you guys love it. So keep listening and you know, tell us some films that you hate or love, and we'll take the piss out of them.
But yeah, please tell us. Please tell us. We really hope you've enjoyed this episode. We're gonna keep. I've
awesome.
really enjoyed it. We're gonna keep doing this. I think we'll go for once a week. I think once a week we do like an episode like this. I think
sounds good.
That's good. Let us know what you think, if you even want it. Like, I'm talking not to you, Joe, to these mutants in the future. Remember that? So I'm talking to the mutants. So if you in the future want us to bring it back, please tell us, and we'll rinse your favorite movies if they still exist.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dave. It's been really fun. We've been crossing the frames.
Yep. Tune in next week. We'll talk more shit about more shit films. Yeah. Take it easy, guys.